count on me. You're gonna have a good old Rob to talk you through all this. Two, check. Hello. Two, hello. Check. What's up, folks? I don't know. Sorry about that. I like this shirt or like jacket or whatever it is. It like sits on me weirdly though. Like now it seems to be behaving now. It seems to be behaving. The collar like sits weirdly. It doesn't fold properly. One side folds and the other side is all like messed up. It's a shacket. A shacket, if you will. That's right. A shacket. Diego, oh my goodness. Thank you for 36 months of Prime. Diego, thank you. No one deserves the elite and exclusive 3-year Pearl sub badge more than our friend Diego, aka Comrade Social Distancing. Thank you, Diego. Hey, Red Scary, how's it going? I hope the book club's been going well. I really wanted to be part of this Walter Rodney book club. I really tried to like catch up, and I fell behind, and I can't do it. I fell behind, and now I'm too far behind. I was really trying though. I was like cramming. I was cramming like I was in school, trying to get on the same page, so to speak. And I fucked up yet again. I am going to still read it. It's one of the many books on my shelf that I promised myself that I would read that I still have not read, so I'm going to. What are your thoughts on artistic nudity? I'm so offended by it that I actually took the day off yesterday in protest. I took the day off in protest. So not my Twitch. Not my beloved Twitch. Not artistic nudity on my beloved Twitch. That's just a bridge too far. I find it very funny, people getting like scandalized by like sexual stuff on Twitch. Like, oh my god, there's women in bikinis. You know, there's women that are pushing that line. I saw like, I think it was like Shoe on Head or someone that was like, no, it's like there's kids on there. You can't be in a bikini. Like, just go on OnlyFans or whatever. But it's like, I find it weird. I guess maybe it's something about growing up in the 90s, maybe, when we're just constantly inundated by like sexual imagery and sexualized images at all times. Like, it almost seems that that's gone down now.
So some leftist based in Canada. I was turned on to this sick individual, and I found this.
Left Flank Vets, hello. Thank you for the raid. What is up, Raiders? Welcome in. Welcome in, Raiders. It's nice to see you. It's me, Rob. How's it going? How is the C-spammin'? How is C-spammin' this morning? How many books? How close are you to 5 books read this year? I'm close to being to 5. I think I've read 5 books this year, but I think only one was an actual book from my shelf that I intended to read. That's the problem. It's not that I didn't read at all. Like I've been saying, I've been reading with my kid as well. I read the Hobbit, the entirety of the Hobbit. And I'm almost through the entirety of Fellowship of the Ring. I've almost read out loud the entire book of the Fellowship of the Fellowship of the Ring. We're in the Mines of Moria right now, right in the climactic part of the Mines of Moria. So I've read a lot, just not the books that I said that I was going to read. I think 5 is enough to save from being slapped by Kleppy. I can't remember the exact deal that was made. I know it did involve some kind of threat of physical violence, so I'm hoping that I was able to escape that. I still need to make more of an impact, more of a dent in the actual political books that I said that I was going to read. That's what I did not do. The Fellowship of the Thang. That's good. I like that. You got a mullet back there? What do you think about this, Marcus? What do you think about this? It's hard to see. When I sit normally, it's hard to see. It blends in with my chair. But you turn there and you can see it's actually quite glorious now. Look, it's doing it again. Look. What is this? Why does it do this? It is a party back there. It is. Why does my collar do this? It doesn't fold properly. Is there a button? Oh, there is a button. There's no, like, thing. What the fuck? Under that Carol Brady cut. I don't know if that's the exact cut that I had in mind, but okay. You gotta get some starch? I don't know. I don't know how that shit works. I already had one Coke Zero this morning, but now we're going on to Coke Zero number 2. Warm iron on it for a few seconds will do the trick. Okay, thank you for that tip. I don't think I own an iron. I guess that's one thing. I'll buy myself a little Christmas gift. An iron. That's what it is to be a 40-year-old man now. That's what I get for Christmas. Like, ooh, I'm going to buy myself an iron. That's cool. That's fun. How was the left flank vets stream today? How was it? It was good to get some gaming in last night, Marcus. We got a little bit of gaming crew going. Nice iron, some nice socks, new pair of boxer briefs. I got some good boxer briefs a couple months back, so I think I'm good on that. Why don't you ever stream the gaming? It's a good question, actually. I think at one point there was a plan to do that, and I just think it's never really materialized. I don't think there's really a concrete gaming schedule. Sometimes I just log in. I log in and I see that the guys, the gang, the squad is online, and then we get a little run in. The crew. This crew is good. Gaming with AOC. That's right. That's when the stream is going to debut. Anyway, how's everyone doing? I had a pretty busy week. I was out doing stuff. I went to a really cool, I didn't mention this on Wednesday, but I went to a really cool, like, Palestine event on Tuesday, organized by my friend Nashua, there was a little panel discussion, and there was poster making and zine making, button making. People were making kites. It was really, really cool. Some really amazing posters were up. In fact, I'm trying to get a good quality copy of some of the posters, because I would like to print some out and hang them up in my apartment, because they're really, really nice. I feel unsafe just hearing about this. And we need a hearing. That's right. I actually ran into Dave Weigel at a Palestine rally in DC. He gamed with us for the thing Jordan set up. Dave's honestly a pretty cool guy. I think Dave is someone that has more based beliefs than he lets on sometimes. Don't ask me how I know that, but I suspect. I suspect. Here's the button that I made, actually. I need to lie down from seeing that button. I'm sorry to frighten you. HT, I'm starting to frighten you. I apologize. In my crafter era, that's right. And so I had never done this before, but on on Wednesday I went to a burlesque show. I had never been to a burlesque show before. In fact, I didn't really even know what that was exactly. But I went to a burlesque show here in Montreal, which it was interesting because it was at this venue in Montreal called the Wiggle Room, which I realized when I went there used to be Jupiter Room, where I hung out so much in my 20s, and I haven't been there for probably 15 years. So I went to this event, and I had a weird like old man acid flashback kind of thing, remembering all the hours that I spent there in my 20s listening to like 80s dance music and coming back reeking like cigarettes, playing at Jupiter Room. But now it's called Wiggle Room, and I went to a burlesque show there on Wednesday, and it was quite fun, honestly. It was quite fun. Kind of interesting. It was like a variety show hosted by this guy, the Love Doctor, who is like a comedian. He's the host. He has a bunch of cards, and you can ask questions to the Love Doctor, and he answers those. And there was a magic act. There was some kind of like stripping, I guess, with the kind of like vaudeville element. There was someone playing songs. There was someone doing stand up. There was the magic. The magic act was also a stripping act. It was like stripping magic. That was kind of interesting. Of both a guy and girl team there. And the last act that went on. So the whole thing was like people had to vote on the either you saw Booba or you didn't. Well, there was nipple coverings, nipple tassels involved. So I don't know if that counts. Does that count? I feel like it kind of does, but I don't know. I'll leave that to the judges to decide. I don't know. Anyway, so the whole thing was like everyone had to vote on the favorite act at the end of the night, and then the favorite acts got a little extra something. And it was almost unfair. The last act was this performer, Petro. And honestly, I gotta say, Petro absolutely destroyed in a way that I've rarely seen, like throughout all the different shows and different genres and different things that I've seen in my life. Petro absolutely destroyed in a way that I don't know if I've ever even really seen before. And you know, I'm not gay personally, but like I must say Petro's energy was like completely you can't say anything about it. I don't know. He just absolutely killed it. Absolutely destroyed. And it was almost unfair. Petro went on last and was just the runaway success of the evening. I almost felt bad for the other performers. We're all straight until Petro comes out. I mean, I guess like this is what it is. He did a fantastic job. Like what can I say? He did. This MF said one array. That's right. I'm all caught up thinking about Petro now. I'm all flustered. It was to Shania Twain, "Feel Like a Woman" as well. That was the song that Petro performed to. He fucking killed it, I gotta say. Shout out to Petro. Petro was just totally undeniable. There's just no getting around it. There's no getting around that. So that's what I did Wednesday. It was fun. It was a fun evening. Yesterday I was a little bit busy, and I was obviously protesting Twitch's tasteful nudity policy in contradiction of everything that I was just saying previous to this. And I also had to go pick up my son. I had to do some other stuff, so wasn't able to stream yesterday, and now here I am today. Now here I am today. It's the last stream of the week. It's the last TRRS episode of the week. Rob is protesting the new cat ears policy. I will never allow Twitch to tell me. I will never allow Twitch to tell me what I'm allowed or not allowed to wear. Okay? I guess they're just on here now. I don't know. The weird thing is that I'm starting to kind of like it. I think that's the strange and upsetting thing, is that I'm starting to kind of be into it. I don't know. I guess there's going to be times that it's inappropriate to wear my cat ear headphones, but I don't. Today is not that day. I'm not a cat boy. It's all just a big joke, okay? It's all just a big gag. You have to be so careful when you start doing bits, because the bits start to just become part of your vibe. Exactly. You're an ironic cat boy until you're not. Like now, howdy is my main greeting, and it just started as a bit. That's good though. I like that. Ugh. So I don't know. I don't know if I have any more updates for you. That's pretty much what's been going on this week. So VJ, are you pro or anti-cat ears? We got to turn VJ into a cat boy. That should be the next step. We only allow him to come back on the show if he wears cat ears. I love your NPR voice talking about cat boys. Cat boys. What does it mean to be a cat boy? For some, the word conjures feelings of apprehension and anxiety, fear of the unknown, fear of the other. I wanted to understand what it meant to be a cat boy, and what the cat boy community was truly about. Beyond the headlines, beyond the eye-catching headlines, I wanted to get involved in the cat boy community. So something like that, you know? It's all just a big joke, okay? The whole cat boy thing, it's all a joke. So I threw on some ears and got myself a saucer of milk in this week's episode of This American Life. That's one thing I've repeatedly maintained. I will not be drinking milk out of a saucer. Okay? At any time. Tucker Carlson voice, what's going on here? These cat boys are taking over. Maybe they're already in your community.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob.
Even in your
talk you
family.
through all this.
Someone send this man cat ears. Ace. Ace. This is what prompted this whole discussion, okay? This is what prompted the discussion. This has been an ongoing joke, an ongoing bit in this community, and it's just a joke. Let's not bring this bit into the new year. Of course not. I can take them off anytime that I want to. All right? I can stop anytime I want to. Diego, thanks so much for another gifted sub. I appreciate it. Local news anchor doing a segment on tankies. They call them tankies. Has your child been indoctrinated into the tanky ideology? Do you see? I don't know. There's this person. I don't log into Blue Sky that much. You know, I know some people really enjoy the Blue Sky community. I find it, I don't know. I find it a little lame, personally. I know. So I just logged in the other day after not logging in for like a couple days. And some guy was like super mad because like 2 months ago I did a post on Blue Sky where I said the USSR was extremely cool. And I'm tired of pretending that it wasn't. And this one, I just logged in and like 3 days ago, and this one guy's quote tweeted that with like, he has like 200 followers. Like, I don't know what the fuck the big deal is. And he says, any one of my mutuals that is actively following this dumb motherfucking tanky idiot can do me a favor and stop following me. Thanks. For my post, because I was like, I think the USSR was good. And like 2 months later, this person just got like extremely upset by this like completely banal observation. This is why I don't go on Blue Sky. I'm sorry. This is exactly why I do not go on Blue Sky, because it's like, it seems like it's a lot of these people that have like got a little bit of clout for the first time in their lives. And he doesn't even have clout. This is like not even a popular account. Why are you so mad about that? Why are you so mad about someone saying, I think the USSR was good? That's how fucked up it is to be like a Western leftist now. People's brains have just been so melted by the decades of anti-communist propaganda. They have a physical anger reaction if you express support for the most successful socialist project in history. If you support the revolution that feeds the children, you can unfollow me right now. Exactly. I don't know. I think it's good to abolish feudalism, personally. I think it's good to abolish feudalism and rapidly industrialize and transform a rural serf society, a rural agrarian serf society, into a global economic and cultural superpower in a matter of years. And then defeat the fascist menace through incredible sacrifice that we can't even fathom. Growing up in our society, we can't even fathom the level of sacrifice that it took to defeat the fascist menace in World War II. Raising living standards for millions of people in the process. Giving people for the first time in their lives access to education, housing, healthcare. Allowing people to become artists and writers. I think it's good that happened, actually. Also supporting every single anti-colonial struggle during that period. Supporting it materially during that period. Yeah, I think that was good. I don't know. Maybe that's crazy to me. Maybe that's tanky. But that makes this person so upset. It's so funny to get so mad about that. Stop spreading these commie lies, narrator. No lies were said. And when we talk about this, no one has ever said that like things were perfect, or that mistakes didn't happen, or that contradictions didn't happen, or that bad things didn't happen. No one thinks that. But like overall, look, overall, is it a historically progressive force? Inarguably, indisputably, yes. Where would the world be right now without the USSR? Like, ask yourself that question. Where would people in Russia be? And not even Russia, but the people like in the greater Soviet Union also got access to all these services for the first time. These were peasants and serfs who were able to live lives of dignity for the first time in like centuries. It's so funny to me to get that mad, to get that 2 months later, to get so mad. And then he was like showing a picture of me. Yeah, he's ironically, well, let me find it actually. I'll show you. I don't know why I'm bringing this up. I just really thought this was amusing. Sorry, I'm just faving all the people that... Here he is wearing a tee-hee, so ironic DPRK t-shirt, so it's probably the former. Hold on, let me just get to this thread here. It says, "Love to starve to death in one of Stalin's concentration camps." Very cool. And again, we're talking about a transition from a agrarian serf society, feudalism, to a industrial superpower, where living standards for millions of people went up. Life expectancy went up. Literacy up. You know? All the indications that we use to determine like whether someone's life is getting better or not all went up. Did some bad shit happen along the way? Sure. Yeah, of course. But overall, is it still a progressive force? Absolutely. Love to parrot literal Nazi lies about the USSR, for sure. This guy says he said something else on Twitter that pissed me off, and it wasn't hard to find more horrendous takes in his feeds. A total garbage brain. I wouldn't be surprised if he turned out to be a Russian asset. Man. I wouldn't be surprised if he turned out to be a Russian asset. The guy says, "I'm pretty sure that's just a moron. The paid Russian internet people usually employ more sophisticated tactics than I like the art, so the USSR was good, actually." And he says, here he is wearing a tee-hee, so ironic DPRK t-shirt, so it's probably the former. And listen, I'm here to tell people right now, my support for the DPRK is not ironic. I'm not being ironic. I, Rod Rousseau, support the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. Unironically. I'm an unironic Korean reunification proponent. It's not ironic. It's not a bit or a gag. Why wouldn't you be a Kim Jong-un online hire? I would love that. That would be great. I would be happy to do that. Anyway, I was just kind of laughing about that. This is why I don't log into Blue Sky, because I feel like this is the folks that are spending their time on there. What if you didn't got to hang out with Dennis Rodman? That'd be cool. It would be cool. I'd love to meet the Worm. I used to have a Dennis Rodman basketball jersey back in the day. I wish I still had that. My God. I wish I still had that Dennis Rodman Bulls jersey. That would have been sick. Is Blue Sky still invite only? It can't be. Is it? It says I have 5 invite codes. That's to me that is insane. How is Blue Sky still invite only? Like, do you want people to join your social network or not? Does anyone want it? Like, I know I'm not selling it very hard, but does anyone want to join Blue Sky? I have 5 invite codes. I see so much drama about user lists on Blue Sky. It's like high school. Well, that's the thing. There's a whole element of, like I said, people that are like, they have this little secret club now. They have this little secret club, and they feel like they're they've got a little bit of clout, and they want to protect that. They want to keep everyone else out. I was going to jump on Threads, but Instagram has been shadow banning me hard for posting pro-Palestinian content. I mean, listen, I don't know if it's controversial to say, but still, I think the best place to be posting is Twitter. Regardless of how bad it's got, regardless of anything Musk has done, it's still the best place to be posting. Like, my comments on Palestine over the last 2 months have been seen by huge audiences there. And if I had been posting those on, like, Threads or Instagram or Blue Sky or wherever else, it just would have been seen by nowhere near as many people. Like, it still is a fairly decent resource for that kind of commentary, which goes against that sort of mainstream narrative. I just noticed from your mentions they're calling it Exeter, and I hate it. That's pretty bad. Yeah, that's not good. Zitter? I got to call Meghan McArdle a moron today, only on X, the everything app. Yeah, that's it. I'm going down with the ship, like Cinnamon Challenge. And I'm hoping eventually that Musk will just sell it to someone for pennies on the dollar, and they're going to just put it back mostly the way it was before. No, like she Zitter, aka Shitter. Okay. All right, I guess so. Now that Canada's official stance is ceasefire, what ought local activists target next? The occupation. The ceasefire is not enough. A ceasefire is a first step. A ceasefire is about stopping people from being killed right now. But ultimately, the occupation has to end. All we want is everything. That's the demand. You know? From the river to the sea, it's not just a slogan. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. It's not just a slogan. It's a demand. And it's in fact a promise. Until that day comes, then the activism is gonna continue. Like, if you're Canada, you don't get to support this genocidal mass murder campaign for 2 months, giving it your full support, and then say, "Oh, 2 months later we called for ceasefire, so please knock it off with the protests now." You know, no more protests, please. We did the thing that you wanted. We asked for a ceasefire, which still hasn't happened. Let's knock it off with the protests. Like, no. No one that subsidizes that for 2 months can then wash away that stain. You know, they made their bed. They supported genocide. It doesn't matter what they do now. Support war crimes investigations is a good idea as well. We hear you. We see you. Now just please stop and let us send these missiles to Israel. I love X, but just today, I got into an argument with a genocidal Israeli racist and watched a video of a guy chucking grenades into a room full of people. Great mental health asset. That video from Ukraine is one of the most insane things I've ever seen. Did anyone see that? I don't even think I can watch it on the stream. It is insane. It's like a minister from Zelensky's party that walked into a room where there's this like council meeting going on and just dropped a bunch of grenades in the room. And the whole thing is captured on video. It is fucking insane. It is so sad how we, the West, Canada, America, NATO, and these Western countries have totally wrecked Ukraine. Like, this is what we've created. This is on us. And there's going to be years of fallout from this. And the policies that our country supported. And all these fucking people for the last 2 years, the Putin bad people, that we must continue the nonstop flow of arms to Ukraine, no negotiation, no diplomacy. All we can do is arm Ukraine and just defeat the Russian menace. Like, you created this, you helped create this situation. I hope people like maybe have some introspection about that. Wait, a minister walked into a room and set off grenades. I'm going to post the link in the chat. We literally can't look on it on the stream because it's like insane. I'm going to post the link in the chat. If you want to watch it, you can do that. But like, I will warn you, it's incredibly fucked up. Congress passed a bill banning any president from trying to leave NATO, and libs loved it. Of course. Remember, like, honestly, that is one of the primary reasons that Trump was was criticized so much, was about his comments about NATO. That was the red line for people. The idea that any president would even mention the possible idea of America leaving NATO was so offensive to people. That's why like all these elite circles went into complete panic mode over him. Anyway, one of the most insane videos that I have seen. And apparently we got an explanation from Kit Clarenberg. Fascinating details about grenade attack. Individual responsible is a Ukrainian lawmaker who fought in the war, got disabled, and struggled to access welfare psychological support upon his return. There's going to be a lot more of this soon, not just in Ukraine, but Europe too. It has been so crazy making over the last 2 years, seeing all the sensible people, the sensible moderate people demand that we must continue to subsidize this war for 2 straight years. And like we've been pointing out, it's going to end probably soon with some kind of peace deal or negotiation that's going to be significantly less generous than what was on offer 1 month into the conflict. And we've had this situation now in Ukraine where like elderly people and young people have just been getting conscripted into this army untrained people just being thrown into the front lines to be destroyed by mortar fire or whatever it is for no reason. Thousands of people. And people have supported this. And people have talked to me like I'm some fucking monster because I've said, like, why are we doing this? For saying also, we caused this. I mean, Ukrainian liberation is just the problem is that this isn't about Ukrainian liberation or sovereignty, but about U.S. having a proxy war with Russia and privatizing every inch of Ukraine. This is a really good point. This is something that we've been talking about lately. We talked about this on Wednesday with Camilla Escalante. This idea of sovereignty. This has come up often on this show, but worth reiterating. This whole fantasy idea that the war in Ukraine over the last 2 years was about protecting Ukrainian sovereignty or democracy. And that people actually believe this. The idea that Western Ukraine is going to be sovereign or democratic, when all it is a outpost for Western military assets, and it's just going to be completely pillaged and privatized by these Western multinational companies. It's not sovereign. If you're a United States client state, you aren't sovereign, definitionally. In the question of Ukraine, it's not about being sovereign or not sovereign. If you're a U.S. client state, you're not going to be sovereign. Taiwan is not going to be more sovereign if it becomes more of a U.S. client state and allows the U.S. to park more missiles there and then becomes another sacrificial pawn in this global geopolitical game that's being played. That's not going to make them more sovereign. Or we talked about this on Wednesday in the context of like Venezuela and Guyana. Is Venezuela infringing on the sovereignty of Guyana? Is Guyana sovereign if it's being exploited by Western interests and like oil companies like ExxonMobil? Is Canada even sovereign? We don't have our own independent foreign policy. We've talked about it numerous times on the show. We just do whatever the United States State Department tells us to do. Is Canada sovereign? Canada is just basically a resource colony in the American Empire with a slightly different political system. Is Canada sovereign? Is Germany sovereign? Germany just sacrificed their own energy security at the behest of the United States. They destroyed their own pipeline that would have given them this access to cheap gas, oil and gas from Russia. And they allowed the United States to sabotage their own pipeline and destroyed their own energy security. Is Germany sovereign? They're militarily occupied by the United States. Let's look at the big picture. We've been arming Nazis in Ukraine. Now these people feel betrayed. What does that remind all of us of? It's only a matter of time, I swear, until we really start getting hit with the blowback. And like we've said before, the blowback has already started. The blowback started before the war in Ukraine even started. There was already blowback because, as we know, the war didn't start in February 2022. So it's an interesting question. I mean, it's good that this got brought up because I'm going to talk about this, I think, in the introduction to Camilla's interview that I did on Wednesday, which I'm going to release in the audio version soon. Blowback, yeah. I wish someone would blow my back. Oh my goodness. Oh my. Don't make me bonk you, energy. You're gonna get bonked if you're not careful. There's a lot of bonkings been going on. Arguably, World War III has been going on since 2001. I mean, arguably, it's been going on since like 1949. You know, there's no limit to how far you can go back. It's taken on different shapes and forms. What if I'm into it? You're only making me stronger. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. It's like that thing in Batman. It's like, I know some of the freaks that's just gonna like it. I'm a broken record on this, but the last election in Guyana was sus as fuck, and no one has given it a close look, except that OAS that said, oh yeah, this is all above boards, are pretty much confirming something fishy went down. It's been something GGL and DOS that I haven't felt super comfortable talking about, because I don't want to talk out of my ass about something that I know very little about, but that is really interesting, though. When you see the OAS, like, making these kinds of statements should probably be an indication that there's something more going on. At least we know the U.S. liberals have it all in hand, have the right people on board to stop fascism in 2024. Hillary Clinton's 2016 campaign could not sell... Like, is that supposed to be... Yeah, okay. Could not sell pussy on a troop train. Husband Bill lamented, according to new book. That's maybe, if I was Bill Clinton, I would maybe avoid using turns of phrase like that. I don't know. This is definitely the people that you want to get involved in the Biden campaign to make sure that they're in the best position, though. There are 50 other ways to say that. I know, like... Jesus Christ. There's so many other ways you could say that exact phrase. Marty said the original saying is supposed to be poultry. Couldn't sell buttered waddle in a desert. I mean, yeah, there's a number of different ways you could kind of make that claim. But I mean, again, like, why would you... Why is she the one that's now like being brought on board to like contribute even more to Biden's election campaign? God, I really just hope she runs, honestly. I really do. Just give us this. It's really the best outcome we could hope for. Here's a nice picture to cheer everyone up. That is nice. I like to see the two great tastes that go great together. Timed with his state visit to Vietnam earlier this week, President Xi Jinping contributed an article to Nhan Dan, the daily newspaper of the Communist Party of Vietnam. China and Vietnam are connected by mountains and rivers. We enjoy cultural proximity, cherish the same ideals, and have a shared future ahead of us. inspired by common visions, convictions, and empathy. Comrade Mao Zedong, Comrade Ho Chi Minh, and other older generation leaders of our two parties and countries jointly cultivated the China-Vietnam traditional friendship featured in camaraderie plus brotherhood. We stood together wholeheartedly and supported each other in pursuing national independence and liberation. Not always, obviously, but it's good to see the mistakes of the past are being rectified. I think this would be a good thing for this region and the entire world if there could be more of a strategic partnership between China and Vietnam. In advancing socialism, we shared our experience and expanded our cooperation, writing together a historic chapter of China-Vietnam friendship. Vietnam's friendship with China, featuring camaraderie plus brotherhood, is profound indeed. The CPC and the Chinese government always take it as a priority in our neighborhood diplomacy to develop relations with Vietnam. We certainly hope that our two nations will always hold dear to the hearts of our traditional friendship, always keep in mind our shared visions and missions, advance together along the socialist path, and steadily promote the building of a community with a shared future that carries strategic significance. She goes on to say, it's important that we keep strategic communication at high levels to ensure that the ship of China-Vietnam relations can break waves and keep making steady progress. We should firmly support each other in pursuing the socialist path suited to our respective national realities. We need to deepen exchanges on the theory and practices of socialist development, fend off external risks and challenges together, and ensure steady and sustained progress in our external risks and challenges together, and ensure steady and sustained progress in our socialist endeavors. I think there was maybe a little bit of a repeat there. It's nice. I love to see the bonds of friendship being reforged, continually reforged. Exactly, Red Scare. We love to see them. We love to see beefs getting squashed, you know? As much as I've talked about the beef lifestyle lately, I'd be happy to squash
You're gonna have
any
good
beef.
old Rob to talk you through all this.
I've upgraded from Rob's golden shower badge to Rob's pearl necklace, and I couldn't be more proud. Thank you for all you do, Rob TRRS Sankara.
Kijiji Genie, thanks for 36 months of Tier 1 and for all the support over the 3 years that you've been a member of this community. Thank you, Kijiji Genie, and please enjoy the brand new, highly elite and exclusive Pearl sub badge. Very cool. Another Pearl badge. That's right. Kira V. It's Pearl. You don't even need to put it in quotation marks. That's just what it is. That's just what it is. Elite and exclusive. That's right. What else do I have anything else to chit chat about? I don't know. I talked about my burlesque show. I talked about the Palestine event I went to. Nothing else is really going on. Non-binary, hello. How's it going? I guess I should remind folks, we got a couple of viewers right now. Kijiji Genie just resubbed. Got that elite exclusive 36-month badge. And if you're watching right now, if you're an unsubbed viewer or chatter or lurker, and you enjoy this program, please, if you can, subscribe. Help me make the little number go up. As you know, it's the only way that I'm able to do this program each and every day.
You can count on me.
Is if
You're
the
gonna have
line
good
goes
old
up. The
Rob
little number
to,
must
talk
go
you
up
through
every
all
single
this.
day. I wish it were not the case, but it is. If you can start a journey to the Pearl badge today. It's only 3 years will go by quickly, okay? 3 years are going to go by very quickly. And like Bon Bun C3PO is saying, new subscriptions are on discount right now. So if you're tuning in, whether it's the first time you're tuning in, or if you're a non-subscribed viewer, please, if you can, subscribe. It's on discount. It really helps me out. It helps me keep doing this show each and every day. And I appreciate it a lot. And we become friends if you subscribe to TRRS. Like Time Abolition. Thanks, Time Abolition, for 6 months of Tier 1. Thank you for that. Marty just added 21 movie events to the Discord. I did see that. Yeah, I did see that. There's some real classics in there. I don't know how many. I don't even think I've gone through all of them. I don't know how many are in the Rob canon. Although I will say that the very first TRRS movie night of, let me just find of 2024, January 3rd, is Speed. Speed, Jan de Bont's Speed, from 1994, starring Keanu Reeves and Dennis Hopper, which is in the canon. That's in the Rob canon, absolutely. You should spend the next 3 hours going through each title. There's some real classics in here. Minority Report, that'll be fun. Terminator, we got. I don't know how these were selected. I was not involved in this selection process, but there are some very good films in here. There's a list. How am I supposed to know about this kind of stuff? How am I supposed to know about this shit? How am I supposed to know about things that are happening in the Discord server of the channel that you're currently watching right now? Huh? We decided on Austin Powers rewatch in the book club. Well, that'll be fun too. That'll be fun. I might have to do a holiday, an emergency intervention Die Hard screening sometime in the holiday period. I might have to, on the 23rd or the 24th, maybe. Why would you need to be spending time with your family on the 23rd or the 24th of December? Wouldn't it be better to be hanging out with people in this community, watching the classic action film Die Hard? Sometimes I question people's commitment to this community. Let's just come out and say it. What is family if not strangers on the interwebs? Exactly, Zanzibar. Exactly. What family? They're all conservative psychos. Die Hard sounds much better. Okay, well then you join the Discord server if you're not in there, please. And that goes out to anyone watching, whether you're subbed or unsubbed. And I hope people do sub to the channel as well. If you can, please subscribe, because that really helps me. But even if you're not subscribed, join the Discord and be part of the community. It's really cool. It's really cool. There was just a book club with Walter Rodney's How Europe Underdeveloped Africa that Red Scary has been leading. All kinds of fantastic stuff going on in there. I told my, quote, real family I'm spending Christmas watching Die Hard with my new family, and they started back on their "you're in a cult" bullshit. I'm sorry to hear that, Carrier Wave. I'm sorry to hear that. Sometimes we have toxic people in our lives, you know, and we all have to deal with that in our own way. We can't let toxic people control who we're allowed to associate with. Cults are not two-dimensional. Already there, I'd sub if I can afford it. Well, maybe Tarme, someone will be kind and generous enough to bless you with a gifted sub. Rom is the only family you need. That's right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Just going to take a look at the old YouTube and see what's going on there. See if there's anything we can take a look at there.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Top Scruffy, thanks so much for the gift sub. Thank you. To Tarme, our new friend. Let's start taking a closer look at some updates from Palestine. As always, it's a climate that is like really uncomfortable to talk about this stuff. You know, I've seen people on Twitch being like banned or suspended for talking about Hamas or expressing sentiments that could be construed as like support for Hamas, which of course the United States and Canada and all these Western countries have determined and declared a terrorist organization. And I think on this channel we've had a lot of nuanced discussion about this kind of stuff. You know, and I think that's important. But I think it's fucked up to be banning or suspending anyone for talking about Hamas. Like, even if that's something that you might not agree with, even if someone comes on here on Twitch, which I'm not doing, for example, but even if someone comes on here on Twitch and says, I support Hamas, I think Hamas is good, I think what happened on October 7th was good, unequivocally good, you know? Again, that's not a position that I happen to agree with, but what I don't understand is why is that position worthy of like suspension or being banned from this platform? That's what I want to know. You know, you don't have to agree. You don't have to agree with that. Why is someone being banned for expressing that kind of sentiment, though? Even people are being banned for even talking about it in a nuanced way. Because again, you can go on Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, Instagram, any of these social networks, and you can say, I 100% stand with Israel. I 100% support Israel and the IDF and everything that they're doing in Gaza right now. It's all justified. All the collective punishment, all of that, I agree with it and I support it. Like, that is you can go on Twitch and say that all you want. No nuance, nothing. Full unequivocal support for Israel and the IDF, or full unequivocal support for the United States government, as a lot of people have been doing as well, who are, as we pointed out many times, purveyors of vastly more terrorism and violence and brutality around the world than a group like Hamas could ever hope to be in an entire lifetime. Has killed more civilians, more children, deliberately targeting civilians, deliberately killing civilians. Has committed more acts of violence and terror than Hamas could ever hope to. But when you go on here and just say, I totally support that. I fully support the IDF. I fully support the police. I fully support the U.S. government. No one gets banned for expressing that sentiment. That, I think, is really fucked up. Like I said, in the context of Russia as well. I don't agree with the full, unapologetic Putin good, Russia good argument. We've talked about that conflict a lot with nuance as well. We've talked about Russia's position. I've talked about my sympathies to Russia's security concerns as what's been happening in Ukraine. NATO pumping arms into Ukraine, training these fascist groups in Ukraine over the last 10 years. I'm pretty sympathetic to the fact that was Russia considered that to be a legitimate threat to their security, right? But I've never come on here and said unequivocally, unapologetically, Putin good, Russia good. But if someone does say that, should they be banned from this platform? That's the question. Why isn't that just a legitimate viewpoint? In the same way, someone can come on and say, I fully support Ukraine. I fully support the arming and funding of Ukraine to the hilt until the last Russian is killed. Like, you can go on and say that, and look, that's not an issue. That's not an issue. You don't have to worry about being deplatformed. You don't have to worry about being fired from your job, demonetized. Putin good, Russia bad. That's an interesting dialectic, Red Wizard. I don't think we've heard that one yet. That's an interesting synthesis. You know? Like, we've talked about all these things with nuance repeatedly for the last 2 years, whether you're talking about Russia, Ukraine, whether we're talking about Israel, Palestine, whether we're talking about Taiwan, or whatever other geopolitical narrative that we're discussing. We've talked about all these things with nuance, but why is it not just a aspect of our debate or our exchange of ideas for someone to have this belief about any of these things? You know? Why are people being deplatformed and demonetized for expressing these kinds of beliefs? Like, why is that not just a legitimate stance to have? You know, I think it's pretty fucked up. And then for someone to be banned from Twitch or suspended from Twitch, and then have someone like brag about it online. Oh, you're supporting like this terrorist organization. The IDF is a terrorist organization. The United States government is a terrorist organization. The police domestically are in both Canada and the United States kill civilians and have militarily occupied neighborhoods and commit acts of terror. Well, but you can support them. Why is that? Why don't we get banned for that? You know, it's really stupid. Here's a segment from Democracy Now! With Jeremy Scahill. This looks pretty good. Let's look at this.
This news is funded by viewers like you. Please support our work at democracynow.org/give. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. The United States is becoming increasingly isolated as it continues to oppose calls for a Gaza ceasefire while sending more munitions to Israel. On Tuesday, the United States was one of just 10 nations to vote against a United Nations General Assembly resolution calling for a ceasefire. That vote came 4 days after the U.S. vetoed a UN Security Council resolution for a ceasefire. This comes as the Biden administration has bypassed Congress to approve the sale of 14,000 rounds of tank ammunition to Israel, the sale valued at more than $106 million. We're joined now by the award-winning investigative journalist Jeremy Scahill of The Intercept. His new piece is just out this morning, headlined, "Joe Biden keeps repeating his false claim that he saw pictures of beheaded babies." But we're going to begin
Biden
with
is
your
just so
piece
he's cooked. He's cooked as a political figure, and his brain is cooked as well.
This is not a war against Hamas. Jeremy, you write the events of the past week should obliterate any doubt that the war against the Palestinians of Gaza is a joint U.S.-Israeli operation.
And also worth pointing out as well, anyone that knew anything about this conflict knew exactly where this was going on the day of October 7th, you know? And that's why I lost respect for anyone that took those initial couple of days to hem and haw, wring their hands about it, you know? We all knew where this was going. We all knew exactly where this was going, and there's no excuse for anyone that's plugged into any of these communities to not understand that basic reality. For anyone that was like, you know, obfuscating that in those early couple days. Student debt forgiveness is too complex for Dems to implement, but they can bypass Congress for $109 million in missiles to Israel. Weird that the parliamentarian had no issue with that. Where's the parliamentarian in all this? Are you allowed to do that? The parliamentarian mysteriously is just powerless to stop these kinds of things now. It's strange how that works, isn't it?
Take it from there.
Well, you know, of course, it's no secret that for many decades,
the parliamentarian, like, what the fuck is that?
With not just military and intelligence
support, I'm pretty sure they just made that up. I think it's gaslighting. I don't think there was such a thing as a parliamentarian until the Biden administration used it as an excuse to not do something. I think they just made that up and hoped no one would check. It was the parliamentarian, actually, that said we couldn't do that. So, sorry. Nothing we can do. Nothing we can do, Jack.
Political and, I guess you could say, moral cover for the immoral activities that Israel engages in as it operates its apartheid state in the West Bank and its repeated attacks against the people of Gaza. And, when we want to talk about Hamas and we want to talk about threats that Israel faces, that it says it faces from Gaza, we have to understand that this didn't begin on October 7th. Yes, the events of October 7th were horrifying, and the facts as they exist, as we know them, are bad enough. And to have Joe Biden repeatedly making comments that are based on completely fictitious photos that he claims to have saw of, 40 babies being beheaded, then we understand that this is part of a propaganda.
My girlfriend goes to another school, but she's totally real. That's the school of propaganda that we're at now.
Gaza, and implying very strongly.
What's up, Kamala Tom?
Actually, Joe Biden has said that Israel's waging a war against animals. This is all part of a dehumanization campaign, and Joe Biden has elevated some of the most obscene lies that have been told about not just about Palestinian people in general, but even about what Hamas did on October 7th. What we know is true is already horrifying enough. So I don't know, what the motive is for Biden to continuously say this. But to directly answer,
it existed, but only in the sense that it was there as an excuse if he didn't want to do anything. The Bush administration went through multiple parliamentarians because of disagreements. They just fired them and found a new one that did agree with them. Well, the thing is, though, but that was so against the norms, Dr. Maggot. That was so against the norms. And the liberals, they just got to respect those norms. They got to respect the norms. If the parliamentarian says no, it means no. I would like a little bit more nuance in these conversations about October 7th, frankly. Because you have people like Amy Goodman and Jeremy Skay who are trying to have an important discussion right now. And he says stuff like, I don't know why you need to make up stuff about October 7th. It was already horrifying enough. And like we said, sure, plenty of horrifying things happened on that day. But let's also not propagate the narrative that this was just this indiscriminate civilian violence. I think we should stop propagating that narrative, because that's obviously not what it was. Not to say that civilians weren't targeted or harmed, which is horrifying. It is horrible. But the idea that what happened on October 7th was purely an exercise in brutal, indiscriminate violence against civilians, I don't think is accurate. I think it's been clear that has not been accurate for now a few weeks. So I think generally when we talk about it, we should try to have a bit more nuance in talking about that.
Enough. So I don't know, what the motive is for Biden to continuously say this, but to directly answer your question about it being a joint U.S. military operation.
It's like my fake high school girlfriend. Not only is the parliamentarian real, they've always been real, and also they're super hot. And the parliamentarian's uncle also works for Nintendo and got Calm Like a Tom the Switch 2, the prototype version, before release. So, checkmate, libs.
For decades, the U.S. has done this, but in this particular war, on October 9th, you had the defense secretary, the defense minister of Israel, Yoav Gallant, say that that he had ordered a complete siege of the Gaza Strip. He said there will be no electricity, there will be no food, no fuel. I'm quoting, "Everything is closed. We are fighting human animals and we are acting accordingly." This is a genocidal phrase from the Minister of Defense of the Israeli Armed Forces on October 9th. At that moment, the United States should have hit pause immediately on any support for Israel and said, we want to clarify that this is not going to be a war waged against the civilian population. Not only did the Biden administration not do that, they continued to offer political cover and rushing weapons there and giving support to the most pernicious lies that Israel was telling. And what we saw in the past days is that on the day that the United States stands alone in the world and vetoes the extraordinary session of the United Nations Security Council calling for a humanitarian ceasefire, Antony Blinken informs the Pentagon and Congress that he was circumventing congressional review processes to rush through 13,000 additional tank rounds that are part of a package of 45,000 rounds that the U.S. is slated to give Israel.
Just like the tanks that fired on Israeli kibbutzes on October 7th,
around the world,
killing and just burning everyone inside.
Cares about Palestinian civilians, cares about Palestinian
including hostages.
Lives, wants to make sure that innocent people are not being killed. So you can take the words of the administration on the one hand, where they portray themselves almost like a kind of friend trying to talk tough to another friend who's doing something really wrong. And on the other hand, you can look at their actions, which is full support for a scorched earth campaign that has killed more than 18,000 people, 7,000 of whom are children, hospitals being targeted and bombed, children being massacred, sadistic videos emerging of IDF soldiers not just killing and mutilating Palestinian bodies, but also creating propaganda films like we saw with the stripped down prisoners. And one in particular, Amy, one of the famous incidents that occurred here is that Israeli forces gathered together dozens of men, stripped them to their underwear, and then bizarrely film them laying down guns. These are
historically,
these are
like when you're doing this
have
kind of
guns
stuff,
in
like,
their
are you the
hands,
good guy?
And then they film them.
When
putting
throughout
them
history,
down.
these are like a
And
bunch
the
of like
man
old
who
men.
was the main person.
A bunch
that
of
they
stripped
filmed
down
placing
old
a
men.
rifle down has been identified as a civilian, not
No,
a
they're
member
totally
of
the good
Hamas.
guys, though, in this.
But in the video, too, there's edits where in one cut, he has the rifle in his right hand. In the other cut, he has the rifle in his left hand. What is clear here is that Israel made a totally sick and twisted propaganda video where they forced Palestinian men at gunpoint to be actors in this propaganda film playing armed Hamas members. The Biden administration is completely complicit in this. Joe Biden is co-signing pernicious lies about the people of Gaza. He is distorting the already devastating and horrifying facts of October 7th, and he's keeping the spigot of military and intelligence support open for the Israelis.
It's so funny
And by
because
the way,
IDF has all the
recent
resources. You
reporting,
say
and
some
had the
IDF
author of
intern
this
has to
on.
edit all these things together. They've got infinite resources, and their propaganda is just such pure dog shit. And then the Hamas guys wearing track pants are just putting out the most, one of the greatest like war propaganda campaigns that we've seen in modern history. It's truly amazing.
From 972 magazine in Israel that talked
I paid
about
for those
the
infinite
gospel,
resources.
this
We all do.
AI-fueled assassination program in Israel, and that they sometimes will kill hundreds of Palestinian civilians in pursuit of one alleged Hamas member. Much of the intelligence that is being fed to the Israelis is coming from the United States to be used to wage this war. So yes, this is a joint U.S. operation militarily and politically.
I want to go to a recent White House press briefing. National Security Council Coordinator Admiral John Kirby claiming the U.S. was doing more than any other nation to alleviate suffering in Gaza.
Name me one more nation, any other nation, that's
China.
doing as much as the United States to alleviate the pain and suffering of the people of Gaza. You can't.
China. China has repeatedly called for a ceasefire over the last 2 months. China has framed the conflict, such as it is, as we all know it's not a conflict, it's a genocide that's ongoing, has correctly framed this in the context of the decades-long theft, dehumanization, occupation of Palestinian people. And have repeatedly demanded that the not only is there a ceasefire, but that be taken into account to come to some kind of peaceful solution to not have any more violence and any more misery. So yes, and yet nearly every other country, especially Yemen as well. Yemen has done more, obviously. Even these like kind of U.S. client states like Qatar have like been involved in these negotiations, these back channel negotiations, creating that initial cessation of hostilities that led to the prisoner exchange in the first place. And America, not only is America fully supporting Israel in their nonstop violence, they're sending them the bombs to do it. This is one of the most absurd statements I've ever seen being made by a U.S. official.
You just can't.
Yes, you can.
Name another nation that is doing more to urge the Israeli counterparts, our Israeli counterparts, to be as cautious and deliberate as they can be in the prosecution of their military operations. You can't.
That's John Kirby. Jeremy, your response.
Okay. First of all, the United States has supplied an unending quantity of gasoline for Israel to pour on the fire that it has started in Gaza. It is an absolute obscenity for John Kirby to stand in front of the world and make such an audacious claim that the United States is doing more to help the Palestinian civilians than any other nation on earth. But I'll give you a concrete list of some nation states that are doing more than the United States. Ireland, which has opposed this from the beginning, has rightly termed what Israel is doing what it is. The government of Spain, the government of Belgium even has spoken out more forcefully than the United States. All of the nations that voted in the General Assembly for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire, and the United States and only 9 other countries voted on Israel's side, all of those nations are doing more than the United States to try to help the Palestinian people. You know, you can send Samantha Power on a propaganda visit to bring 36,000 pounds of aid and have all the cameras around filming her talking about it, while at the same time you're giving Israel 2,000-pound bombs, you're giving them intelligence used for their scorched earth campaign, you're circumventing congressional processes to rush them new tank rounds. No, this is utterly obscene, and John Kirby should be entirely ashamed of himself for his conduct during this entire thing, Amy. The entire thing. John Kirby has been one of the most vicious propagandists for the worst excesses and crimes of the U.S.-backed Israeli scorched earth campaign in Gaza.
I want to ask you about a New York Times expose that hasn't gotten a lot of attention. Israel just canceled a planned trip to Qatar by the head of Mossad to resume hostage negotiations. Well, that's the latest news. His name is David Barnea. But this comes as the Times has published an expose headlined "Buying Quiet" inside the Israeli plan that propped up Hamas. It's about Israel secretly sending billions of dollars to Hamas over roughly a decade. The piece begins, quote, "Just weeks before Hamas launched the deadly October 7th attacks on Israel, the head of Mossad arrived in Doha, Qatar, for a meeting with Qatari officials. For years, the Qatari government had been sending millions of dollars a month into the Gaza Strip, money that helped prop up the Hamas government there. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel not only tolerated those payments, he encouraged them. And when the Qatari officials asked David Barnea, the head of Mossad, should we stop this, he said no. Jeremy Scahill, your response.
I guess one thing too, I think it's definitely worth it to point out the ways the Israeli government propped up Hamas to begin with. It's also somewhat problematic to fixate on that, I think, and I this is my perspective that's been informed by some of the Palestinian writers and journalists that I do follow. Because it kind of like maybe infantilizes, but it kind of like deflects this idea about Hamas and the fact that for many people, regardless of what its origins are, it's become a legitimate axis of resistance against the Israeli occupation for many people in Palestine. And we shouldn't just pretend that it's this. I think it kind of feeds into this free Gaza from Hamas narrative when we suggest that it's entirely propped up by the Israeli government. It's worth mentioning, it's worth pointing out, considering the way that they use Hamas as this scare tactic to justify everything that they do. But I think when you start framing it as this purely Israeli creation, you get into some kind of thorny territory there. And you deny the agency of people in Gaza that actually do view this, whether you like this or not, as a legitimate axis of resistance.
Well, what we know is at least going back to 2012, Netanyahu has embraced this strategy that Hamas should be propped up in Gaza. It probably goes back much before that, but if we want to talk about concrete, provable facts. And in 2019, there's a quote where Netanyahu is addressing his comrades in the Likud party. This is in 2019, and he said the following, quote, "Anyone who wants to thwart the establishment of a Palestinian state has to support bolstering Hamas and transferring money to Hamas." So what's going on here? Well, Benjamin Netanyahu doesn't want an Israeli state. And he wants to make sure that no alternative voice. Sorry, that doesn't. Well, yes. Well, he's also seems to be working very hard in that regard
Rob,
too, because he
seriously, wow.
Look at that. Calm like a Tom. Look at the pause face that you just created. Jeremy Scales' reaction to that is just stunning. Calm like a Tom. Thank you so much for 10 gifted subs. That's so kind of you. Thank you so much for that. I really, really appreciate that, Calm Like a Tom. And all the support that you've shown this channel and this community and for the work that I do on here. Seriously, thank you. Really, really kind of you. And again, if anyone wants to subscribe, new subscriptions on discount right now. There's a sale on new subscriptions. If you can, please support this program by subscribing or gifting subs. You can subscribe with Prime, which is completely free of charge if you have an Amazon Prime account. Every little bit helps, and it's the only way that I'm able to continue doing the show each and every day is through the extreme generosity of community members like Calm Like a Tom. So if you can, please subscribe. We're a measly 20 subs away from the goal, which is barely anything at all. I'm off to therapy, but much love to you all. All glory to the friendship triangle. Thanks again, Kamlakatam, and good luck in your therapy. I hope it goes well. I'm in the position now where it's like, if I'm going to continue therapy, I'm going to need to like find someone new, and I don't even know how it works. And now even if I start with someone new, I'm going to have to go and start from the beginning again. You know, you gotta get the whole backstory. It's like, fuck, how am I going to do that? I'm going to have to explain my whole deal to people. Somebody drag Rob's tired ass across the subline. Well, we'll get there. We'll get there, Dr. Maggot. We still got time. We got another like 2 hours. I've gotten really good at giving the cliff notes. Fuck, I think about starting over again. Anyway, I don't even know what's going to happen because I have no clue how to like make that happen. Accessing like mental health care in Canada when you don't have insurance is like more or less impossible. I think if you get to like crisis mode, then it's like it becomes more possible. But like in the in between, if you want to try and prevent getting into crisis mode in the first place, then it's very difficult. I've had so many therapists and nothing really works. Yeah, I mean, it's hard. It's been hard for me. I think that's why I think it's a little frustrating because like the therapist that I've had for the last year or so is someone that I thought was like pretty cool and it was fairly helpful. A lot of times when I've tried therapy, you have to have a connection with the person, right? You have to have kind of a connection. And if that's not there, then it's just not there. Anyway, who knows? Who knows? What do I need therapy for anyway? I got this community. I got this. This is my therapy now. You're all my therapists. Let's continue this clip. Please subscribe to TRRS if you can. As your new therapist, that's a terrible idea. Yes, it is.
He's making it less safe in the world for Jewish people by his actions, and he is. If you read the Israeli press, there's an increasing amount of criticism that what Netanyahu is doing is actually going to make the citizens of Israel less safe in the world, not more safe. But what Netanyahu wants to do is make sure that no political forces rise in Gaza or elsewhere in Palestine.
You can count on me.
That can garner more support from the
talk
world.
you through all this.
Okay, fine. I'll slub so hard.
Progressive Canuck, thanks for 28 months, tier 1. You're slubbing so hard. You're slubbing so hard, Progressive Canuck. Thank you for that. 28 months of tier 1. Wonderful.
In pursuit of being recognized as human beings, being recognized as a fully independent nation. And so, of course, he wants to keep the money flowing to Hamas. It's very good for his business, for his agenda. It's also very good for both the United States and the Israeli war agenda and war industries. But the other part of this, Amy, is when we talk about groups like Hamas, beyond the fact that there's a documented history of Netanyahu, for his own reasons, supporting the flow of money and the grip on power of Hamas, you also have the reality that for 75 years, Israel has operated a murderous campaign against the Palestinian people aimed at making sure they will never get an independent homeland. And when you do things, as occurred in 2018 and 2019, like repeatedly gunning down nonviolent protesters who participated in the weekly Friday marches on the Great March of Return, and you had a Haaretz expose where IDF soldiers confessed that they were in a competition to see how many kneecaps they could shoot of these nonviolent protesters. It's sickening. When you see how Palestinians are treated when they do what the world or what others say they should do, oh, protest nonviolently, don't take up arms, they're gunned down by Netanyahu's forces. So why is there a group like Hamas? Why was there a group like the African National Congress? Why was there a group like the Irish Republican Army? Why would people support vicious entities like Hamas? Well, because they've been stripped of every possible other means of resistance by their occupiers, by settler colonialist powers. So when we want to talk about why is there a Hamas, part of it is people like Netanyahu and Netanyahu personally supporting the rise of Hamas and sustaining Hamas. And the other part of it is 75 years of history of constantly massacring Palestinians and showing them that nonviolent protests also will not be tolerated.
Jeremy, we just have a minute, but I want to go to your new piece out today. Headline, Joe Biden keeps repeating his false claim that he saw pictures of beheaded babies. I want to go back to President Biden, October 11th, 4 days after October 7th, when Hamas attacked Israel, when he was speaking to a group of Jewish community leaders.
I mean, I've been doing this a long time. I never really thought that I would see and have confirmed pictures of terrorists beheading children. I never thought I'd ever, anyway.
So that's President Biden. The White House was forced to walk this back somewhat, but explain what he's talking about.
Well, in the immediate aftermath of the Hamas-led attacks on October 7th, when journalists, at first it was primarily Israeli journalists, went to the scene of some of the kibbutzes where the massacres had taken place, they began to hear stories from Israeli soldiers that there were decapitated babies and babies who were burned alive. And so I-24 News in Israel, one of their reporters, we believe was the first to report this, and said that it was based on what Israeli soldiers had told her. And then that starts to spread like wildfire. CNN then picks up the report. CBS also did a report promoting the claim that there were beheaded babies. And then as much more attention starts getting drawn to it, people start asking the Israeli government, and Netanyahu's spokesperson then confirms that this happened. And then a few hours later, you have Joe Biden standing up and saying that he has personally seen photographs of it. Then when U.S. reporters started pushing on this and saying, is Biden saying that the U.S. has independent evidence of this? Then they had to say, no, actually, Joe Biden and no one in the administration has seen any photos. He was just referring to...
How many times over the last 3 years has Biden said something that then aides and people in the White House staff have to say, no, he actually meant the exact opposite? Like, I feel like this has happened dozens of times at this point. Yeah, actually, no, he totally didn't mean that. He meant, this is what he did mean. And they say something completely different. And then months later, he's still doing the same thing. Like he's saying, they walked it back, and he's still doing the same thing.
The media reporting about it. And now the Israeli government doesn't make this claim at all anymore. In fact, when Netanyahu has appeared alongside U.S. officials, or when Tony Blinken is shown photos by the Israeli government of the aftermath of the horrifying scene at the kibbutzes, he's never mentioned beheaded babies. Netanyahu has said that they beheaded soldiers. But what is really perplexing is that the established facts that we already understand are horrifying enough. Why would the most powerful individual in the world find the need to repeatedly, not just once, Amy, he said it in October, he said it in November, and he said it a few days ago. He keeps saying that he has seen photos, and then his advisors have to walk it back. Also, the Washington Post reported that before he first said that, in a meeting with his staffers, they warned him against including that in his speech because they said it's not verified. So what you have here is this is one of the most incendiary charges that has been made about those raids led by Hamas on October 7th, this idea of beheaded babies. But
He's insanely senile.
Actual figures that have been released by Israel. And I want to be very precise here because it's very, very important. If you look at the actual figures, and I'm going to read this for you, Amy. This is published in mainstream Israeli news outlets. They've said approximately 1,200 Israelis or Israeli residents were killed on October 7th. 274 of them were soldiers. 764
So here's the
were
nuance that I was
civilians,
asking for.
57 were police. 38 were local security guards. Among the civilians killed, there was a 9-month-old baby. She was the youngest, Mila Cohen. She was shot, and this is horrifying. She was shot as her mother carried her. Her mother survived, but her father and other relatives were killed. So you had a 9-month-old that was killed. Then you had 12 children between the ages of 1 and 9 years old. And you had 36 children between the ages of 10 and 19 years old. Where does this story of 40 beheaded babies come from? Well, Israel has walked it back. The reporters have retracted it. Only Joe Biden is out there in the world continuing to insist that he somehow has seen photos of beheaded babies when not even Benjamin Netanyahu, who absolutely would be screaming it every day if it was true, isn't going that far.
Jeremy Scahill, I want to thank you for being with us, senior reporter and correspondent at The Intercept. We'll link to your pieces. Democracy Now! Is funded by viewers like you. Please give
Yeah, I mean, it's totally insane that Biden keeps repeating that charge. What was the thing he was saying the other day when he was like, my father was in the kibbutzes. Not only was Joe Biden himself, like one of the stories where he's like, now he was, you know, the whole thing about South Africa and Mandela, like I was Jack, I've parachuted into South Africa, joined the ANC, and I was trying to free Mandela from prison on a top secret covert mission. He's making up all these claims about South Africa and the ANC and Mandela in the 70s. What was the whole thing about my father? Talking about my father in one of these kibbutzes. I started shifting like the kids on TikTok, so now he's confused. My father. He's doing the Meghan McCain thing.
But we know this year's Hanukkah is different. It's been 65 years since the deadliest day of the Jewish people since the Holocaust. 65 years. You know, after October 7th, my father returned to his kibbutz to salvage what he could from his home. What was left was in the rubble and ruin. The home, which he had hidden in with his wife and his daughter for 20 hours before being rescued.
I can barely even understand what he's saying. You know, in Joe's defense there, I think he that was a flub that he corrected and said a father. In Biden's defense, okay, I'm not going to defend Diamond Joe too much. He is senile. He is a genocidal imperialist. I think he said my father and then said well, a father. So you're defending Biden as I'm now is the time. Now that Biden's historically unpopular, now I'm going to pivot to being like a pro-Democratic Party guy and a guy, you know. I'm going to pivot now instead of like after the election, like when I could have benefited from that. I'm pivoting now to be like a sheep herder for the Democratic Party. I really know this is I'm the world's worst grifter. I'm the world's absolute worst grifter. I keep promoting extremely unpopular ideas. I keep grifting off extremely unpopular ideas and alienating my own audience in the process. My father was one of the beheaded babies. And again, whenever you talk about these kibbutzes blown into rubble now, I'm just thinking about And once again, in case anyone's watching, they're curious about my opinions on this, it doesn't absolve Hamas or anyone else for responsibility if they harmed, intentionally or otherwise, harmed civilians, especially children. When you're talking about these kibbutzes being blown into rubble, I can't help but think about all the numerous reports of these untrained Israeli tank crews just firing on these buildings and homes where people were sheltering inside. There's been numerous reports of this. Hey, Adrian Vixen, how's it going? Speaking of worst grifter, did you see Don Lemon? No, what's Don Lemon up to now? Don Lemon's going MAGA now? That's interesting. That's quite a rebrand. I'm not going to look into that too much. I'm just going to assume that that was true. A grifter was the most cherished type of bicycle when I was a kid. That sounds cool. That's right. I'm the first Stalino-Bidenist streamer. It's a new synthesis. It's a new Marxist synthesis that I'm working on here. I'm unveiling that. You've heard of the anarcho-NATOists. Well, get ready for the Stalino-Bidenists. I want you to put word back out there that we up. I was going to pull off his mask Scooby-Doo style. It'll be like near a tendon. It'll be like near a tendon, but with like a Hamas headband. It's the first grift that appeals to precisely no one. It's the first grift that alienates every single person that could possibly be contributing to it. Zero appeal, like not 5%, not 10%, 20%, not 3%, 1%, zero appeal to anybody. That's my grifting style. Hey, Sunny Soul, how's it going? Okay, on this
Today
subject.
is the 23rd of November 2023, and Gaza is still under the fire and under the war.
Well, then why don't we just go right into our next guest, who I think will appreciate
This
you
should be
being
good.
fired up.
We got Eugene and Rania Kalik from Breakthrough News. This is a segment called White House in Crisis. How the global uprising for Gaza is shaking Biden with Leon Fulehan, who's an education director at the People's Forum. Here's the link to the video. Please, if you can, make sure that you like and share and subscribe these Breakthrough News videos. They're always so helpful. And I really appreciate the work they do over there on Breakthrough News.
Leanne Fulehan, who's the education director at the People's Forum, an editor at 1804 Books, and an organizer with the Shut It Down for Palestine Coalition, joining us once again to check in on
some
the
leftist
global
based in Canada.
uprising.
I was turned on to this sick individual, and I found this.
Hello, Dan. Dan Simpson. Thank you for the raid. I really appreciate
you can count
it.
on me
And look at that.
Old Rob to talk you through all this.
What a stand-up guy. What a swell guy, that Dan Simpson.
You can count
very
on me.
generously,
Good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Very generously raids the channel. Very generously raids the channel and resubs for 18 months at tier 1. Dan, I appreciate you, Dan. Thank you. I really appreciate that. And Siscat as well. Thanks for 13 months of tier 1. Thank you for that. They banned your emotes. I still just don't know. I don't even want to talk about it because it calls attention to it. I do not know how my emotes have never been contested in any way. I don't even want to talk about it because it's going to jinx it. I have no idea, but I'm just going to not question it. Anyway, we're just watching this video from Breakthrough News. White House in crisis. How the global uprising for Gaza is shaking Biden with Leon Fulehan, who is an education director with the People's Forum. So thanks again, Dan, for the raid. I appreciate it a lot. You're not beefing enough. I'm just too nice. I'm too nice to be targeted by these kinds of bad faith smear campaigns. I'm just universally liked and admired and respected. You know, I guess that's, I don't ask me why, you know, don't ask me why. I'm universally admired, liked, and respected by all. And that's why I don't have to deal with this kind of stuff.
For Gaza and Palestine. Leanne, thank you so much for being back with us.
Thanks for having me. Always great to be here.
My friend.
Well, pleasure is all Canadian. Ours. And let me start here. I woke up this morning and I was greeted by an interesting headline in Politico. Vice President Kamala Harris
don't ask me, Red Wizard.
urges White House. I don't even remember the rest of it, but it was like basically how Kamala Harris is urging Joe Biden to speak more compassionately about Palestinians. But it's obvious that there's a lot of leaking
by
going
the Canadian
on in Washington,
Constitution.
D.C. to
Thank
the media by the Biden administration and individuals in the Biden administration to try to make it seem as if they're...
You have a French last name? Well, a lot of people, especially Andrew Coyne. Thank you, Kijiji Genie. Andrew Coyne loves and respects me the most. And again, someone I have a lot of, I almost said contempt, which obviously is not true, but a lot of sympathy for right now. The true victim of all the ongoing shifting geopolitical situations happening right now. The true victim, liberal columnist Andrew Coyne of Canada. My heart goes out to him right now. You have a French last name? Well, we all got last names. Coming from somewhere, right? We all got we got German last names or French or Irish, you know? That means nothing. Anyway, let's continue this.
They're not really on the same page with Benjamin Netanyahu and the entire Israeli leadership vis-a-vis the genocide of Gaza. I wonder how you evaluate both the obvious reasons why they want to distance themselves, which is anger in the United States, but also how you evaluate their actual complicity despite their words.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that these the tone switch over the past couple of days, the attempt, like you said, to distance themselves from Netanyahu is really just exposing that they're having a PR crisis right now. You know, the State Department went over the heads of Congress essentially and approved more millions of dollars of military aid over to Israel. The complicity is still very much concrete. It's still very much there. They're still very much backing this genocidal assault on the Palestinian people, but they really are very uncomfortable with the isolation on both the world stage and domestically that it's bringing about. So I think that what we're seeing is an attempt to say, hey, you know, we're not fully backing this. Hey, we did say to be careful about civilians. It's not changing, in a sense, the material basis for that support and that complicitness. And in fact, we can't deny the major role the United States has played in orchestrating this genocidal assault. It doesn't change that at all. I think this is an attempt to sort of appease the discontent, the dissent, the uprisings that they have on their hands. Just yesterday, staffers of the White House stage a protest in front of the White House. Biden's own staffers said, we don't approve of what you've been doing. We want a ceasefire. It's been echoed by the millions over the past 2 months across the country. Actions are only becoming more frequent, and people are actually gaining the skills to be doing these actions, and people are becoming better organizers. They're happening more quickly. So I think that Biden and his administration, including Kamala Harris, are in a very uncomfortable position. They don't want to be uncomfortable. They would like to continue going on as usual, supporting Israel the way they've been supporting Israel, but they basically Netanyahu has backed them into a corner, and they don't have an exit strategy right now. So these I see as attempts to try to convince the general public that there's some sort of moral standing that the White House has right now, but it doesn't seem that people are really being convinced.
Well, looks like we might have lost Rania here, but I will ask you another question I have here. Let me pull this up, though, because I want to get this right, Leanne, but it's just interesting polling that sort of speaks to this very issue.
Where'd
The most
Rania go?
recent Economist YouGov poll asked people, do they want to increase, decrease, or maintain the same military aid to Israel? And the plurality is for decreasing military aid to Israel. Now, I have to say, even I was surprised about that. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of opposition, but maybe there was some other time in the past this was true, but it seems almost unprecedented to have a plurality of people in the United States of America saying send less military aid to Israel, and of the clear majority, it's either send less or keep it the same. I mean, so it does feel that we're seeing something of a change. I don't want to say a sea change, but something of a change towards how this issue is seen by the majority of Americans.
You say Biden staff protesting seemed to really anger the libs. It's really incredible. Some of these people that it seems like their only political, their most deeply held political conviction is that you must just be 100% unquestioningly loyal to the Democratic Party and the people in power. And they say what's up and you follow. Like there seems to be a sizable contingent of people that's what they think politics is. Like you're talking about Biden staffers. Like they're the ones that are doing the thing that you think that you should do. They're working in the system. They're working for the Democratic Party. They're working for the Joe Biden administration. These are your people. But like anything that steps outside that full unquestioning support for every single thing that the Democratic Party says, they become like the villains. They become villains. Biden staffers are protesting his own Israel policy, and liberals, rather than like looking at that and being like, Biden staffers are against this policy. Maybe I should think about this a little bit more. Maybe I should like re-examine some of my own beliefs about this. If these Democratic Party, like people that are part of the party apparatus, working in the Biden White House, if they're protesting these policies, perhaps me as a liberal, I should like re-examine some of my beliefs about this. But instead it's like, no, you're Russian sympathizers or whatever it is. Like it's fucking insane. The Biden staff is Hamas now. Never ask any questions of your political ruling class. Never demand anything. Don't ask politely. Don't make like strong statements. Don't criticize. Don't offer mild, sort of tepid criticism even. Don't offer constructive criticism. No. Nothing. Full, blind, unquestioning obedience, or you're now like a villain to us. It's Bernie bro to me. It's Bernie bro when you don't show just full, unquestioning loyalty to the Democratic Party. Oh no, SV Harkin, a friend that I love, gentle and true, told me Zoomers are protesting for Hamas. I was crushed. We got to get them off whatever media diet they're looking at. It's not good. People have their brains being melted right now. That behavior does seem cultish, which is something that, as you know, folks, I'm totally against. I'm totally against that kind of thinking.
I totally agree. I think this is unprecedented. And it's exposing something about the way the system works that is going to be very difficult for the general public to forget. We have, on the one hand, bipartisan support for Israel. There's very little calls, both on either side of the major parties, for any sort of concrete change in U.S. support for Israel. But we also now are seeing bipartisan, I want to say beyond bipartisan, we're seeing broad support for an end to this kind of support, a ceasefire. We're seeing broad calls on across the political spectrum for an end, in particular right now, and I think we should be clear about that, in particular right now for an end to U.S. support for the genocidal war right now. This, in a sense, is outlining the completely different interests that the White House has, no matter which party they're in, with the interests of the general public. And it's very demonstrative. And I think that for this to be happening around the issue of Palestine is unprecedented. I also think it is unprecedented, the level of violence that the Israeli state, it's not unprecedented the level of violence that the Israeli state is committing against the Palestinian people, but the scale, the shock that it's producing on the world stage, the massive massacring of Palestinian people, children, families, essential infrastructure, you cannot deny the impact that has on the human consciousness. And when you have a political class that is serving only profit and imperial agendas, and then you have people who are trying to see the world and understand it and are trying to make their own decisions about what's right and wrong, you're going to see that those interests are fundamentally different. And I think that's what's being demonstrated right now.
You know, one other thing I just want to check in on, and I think that is real, is obviously these things, so much of what's happening in terms of public opinion is being driven by the horrible images we're seeing, but a lot of it is being driven by the activism that has been happening on the ground that has been bringing the issue, right in front of people's faces constantly every single day. I mean, where are we now? I mean, I think obviously we've seen many, many weeks, but are we seeing a continuation of this momentum?
Definitely. So we've been seeing an escalation, an intensification of the number, the type, the level of participation in mass mobilizations. And we need to really recognize the fact that participating in these kinds of mass mobilizations is in itself educational. People are transformed by participating in this. It's something that we've talked about before on the show, that we hoped that the call to shut it down it's a diffuse call, but one with very clear objectives. We do want people to understand the way in which U.S. society is backing fully the Zionist regime and the colonial project in Israel. And people are going to be making lots of connections. They suddenly become committed now to...
Are you ready to learn the secret to cheap Canadian cannabis? At Bloom Supply, we're more than just an online...
We're in
the Palestinian cause beyond, in many cases, beyond just calling for a ceasefire. And so
And yeah, I think Quaker Oats guy, what you're saying back there a few moments ago, is a really good point. It's part of the fascistic infantilization of our democracy, with liberal sentiment basically being the experts and adults are in charge. They wouldn't lead us in astray. I guess my view is that and you're totally right, of course, but you'd think staffers in the Democratic Party might have some kind of credibility, You know what I mean? If you're a staffer in the Biden administration, shouldn't you have some of that credibility that they bestow on these ruling class figures? Aren't you one of the adults in charge, one of the adults in the room at that point? But you don't. As soon as you express any mild, tepid criticism of the ruling class, you get put into that camp.
The past week alone, I can't actually tell you the number of different actions that were taken in New York City alone, where I'm based. We had after the global strike that was called by many different sectors of Palestinian society, and that was the response was in fact quite global. There was a day of multiple actions in New York City. We had a large volunteer meeting where there were almost 400 people, I actually can't count them all, who were present in person, asking what can we do next. And as a result, in every neighborhood of New York City, there's been a speak out, a moment where people come together They are organized, they are unorganized, they know each other, they don't know each other, but they're coming together for this common cause, and they're educating on street corners. That can't be overestimated, the impact of this. And it's the first time in a long time that people are not only committing to coming out and being on the streets, but they're committing to educating their community. And that's having a huge impact. We're seeing this in many different manifestations across the United States, where it's extremely significant. The population in the United States has been subjected to a propaganda campaign over the past decades that makes it very difficult to even have any idea of what's going on in Palestine that's based in reality, that's based in some sort of objective truth. And despite that, it's been shattered in only a few days. And people are taking on not only the role of, declaring what side they're on, but of bringing this information to other people in their areas. So I think that what we're seeing is a continuous building of momentum. The slowdown that I think the White House hoped for and banked on around the Thanksgiving and Christmas holidays is not happening. The cold weather is going on as usual, but people are still out. They're showing the images now, but we were in front of the New York Times in some bitter cold on Monday morning and stayed out there for a couple of hours with high energy. This is something that people really are very passionate about. They are very committed to, and it will be very interesting to see how this develops further. There certainly is no going back. This change is dramatic, it's significant, and it's going to have major implications for the way the White House is able to convince its own population of its policies.
Leanne, there's two important figures, though I would say one is more important than the other in this case, that have actually mentioned these protests. One was the leader of Hezbollah, Hassan Nasrallah, in the last speech he gave about a month ago now, maybe even a little bit more than a month ago. I've lost track of time. He specifically mentioned the protests in the West and how crucial they are to pushing for a ceasefire. It's almost like the protests in the West, I would say all around the world, but in the West specifically, in the U.S. specifically, because this is America's war, really, the U.S. can stop it tomorrow. Those protests are so crucial because it's in the belly of the beast. And then you also have
Rania's back.
I think much less important figure, but he's a figure nonetheless, Benjamin Netanyahu. But I'm just going to quote him. This was last week in the Financial Times. Benjamin Netanyahu, I'm just reading directly from it. Benjamin Netanyahu, at least in private, has been blunt about what Israel needs most to destroy Hamas: a steady supply of more U.S. bombs. Quote, "We need three things from the U.S. munitions, munitions, and munitions," the Israeli prime minister told a group of local government officials, according to a recording obtained by the Israel Today newspaper. "There are huge demonstrations in Western capitals," added Netanyahu, who is concerned political pressure overseas might threaten the U.S. arms shipments. "We need to apply counter pressure. There have been disagreements with the best of our friends." I think that is so important that the leader of the country carrying out this genocide is concerned about these protests. And, I couldn't help but notice that he also mentioned we need countermeasures. So, being involved in organizing these, what do those countermeasures look like? I know we kind of talked about them the last time I had you on, but can you lay them out? And it doesn't seem like they're working.
Dear
Jesus
Wakefield,
Christ.
This year I want to say thanks. Over the
Yeah, it does not actually seem like they're working. I think the strength of the
Do you think Hamas calculated these after effects? Probably Palestine support is an all-time high in the U.S. I mean, I'm sure one after effect that was calculated was the barbaric response to the Al-Aqsa flood, which in theory could contribute to this sort of turning of general public opinion against Israel. But I don't think there's any way to predict the extent to which the response has been, the extent of the depravity of the response that we've seen, or the extent of the way that public opinion has shifted on this. I don't think there's any real way to predict that. But no, I think you're right that it isn't an all-time high. It's pretty incredible.
Popular momentum for this is really much stronger than the propaganda campaign coming from any Zionist institutions. There have been attempts since this latest wave, this latest surge in solidarity for Palestine, in the movement for solidarity for Palestine, to use scare tactics and other forms of repression fully announced by and backed by the state at all levels, to try to convince people that to come out for Palestine, to speak for
You have
Palestine.
to take into account Russia most likely put money into this attack. I don't think we need to assume that. I mean, if any, like when you had that speech of Nasrallah with Hezbollah, made special care to say like this was the Palestinians that did this. So, I don't know. I mean, it's again, we can't deny the fact that there is this axis of resistance in Gaza among Palestinians, and that they are capable of planning and carrying out an operation like what we saw. So I don't know. I don't know if that's true.
To organize and execute actions for the Palestine Solidarity Movement would in fact make you a terrorist, and that you need to be careful, you need to protect yourself. We saw many people getting fired from their jobs, many students are getting suspended or coming under disciplinary investigations. We saw last week now, time is somewhat of a blur, but Congress kind of called this ridiculous circus of a hearing where they brought in very pro-Zionist university presidents and accused them of not being Zionist enough. And it was kind of like a very bizarre performance to try to put more pressure on their supposed allies to do better, because basically they're failing at repressing, in this case, the student movement, but I think overall, the general movement for Palestine. This billions of dollars in the propaganda machine for Israel is basically in a corner on the defensive. We have not been able to see any strong organized force coming out for Israel at all in the past couple of weeks.
Now, I bet those university presidents would be surprised to be called pro-Zionist. For sure. I think you're absolutely right, J-Mac. Definitely the presidents of like Harvard and Columbia and these other like Ivy League universities all support fucking Hamas. I think you're right. I think these are left-wing radicals, these Ivy League school presidents. They're Stalinist Hamas sympathizers. The president of Harvard University. No, absolutely. Thank you for weighing in.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Harvard is too woke now.
Thanks, Dakadoon, for 31 months, tier 1. I appreciate that. These let's call them what they are, extremists, okay? These left-wing communist Islamo-communist university presidents of Ivy League universities like Harvard supporting Hamas and other terrorist groups. Absolutely disgraceful. The Ivy League has fallen.
This is some guy, Rob Russo, some leftist based in Canada. I was turned on to this sick individual, and I found this.
Hello, Majority Report. Hello, thank you for the raid, Majority Report. Welcome in. Welcome. Sam Cedar, what a fucking nightmare. Thank you for joining the program. Thank you for the raid, Majority Report. I really do appreciate it. It's me. It's Rob Rousseau. It's nice to see you. How's it going? How was the stream today? How was the Majority Report stream? I'm off to the Legion for some Friday beer and shuffleboard. That sounds very nice, Progressive Canuck. Sounds very nice.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Plunger Man, thanks for gifting a sub to Nixon Plumber. How are you all doing? We're just talking about Palestine. You know, it's been the main subject of discussion over here for the last 2 months. We're just talking about how this global mass movement supporting Gaza and supporting Palestine is like shaking the Biden administration. We were talking about how some of these Biden staffers are like actually protesting their own policies, and how this kind of like liberal commentariat views anyone that doesn't have just like full, unquestioning, unflinching support for every single thing that the party does or says, then like wants to cast these people as like outsiders or you know, suggest that they're spoiled or wants to turn them into some kind of villain.
Have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Plunger Man, thank you for gifting another sub. I really appreciate that. Thank you, Plunger Man. I was hoping this would be some kind of pyramid scheme or cult. Unfortunately, you're going to have to look elsewhere if you're hoping to join a cult or a pyramid scheme. TRRS, as you all know, is not a cult or a pyramid scheme. It's simply a two-dimensional triangle-shaped friendship access and trickle-down clout tiered reward system, which is totally different. It's just a community, a two-dimensional triangle-shaped community of friendship. And that's all it is. So if you're looking for any kind of a cult or a pyramid scheme or anything like that, I'm sorry, but you're not going to find it here. I'm sorry to say. I really don't get why some left streamers think one state is the only solution. Ask the indigenous in Canada what a one-state solution looks like. I'm not totally sure I understand your analogy about indigenous people in Canada. I mean, if you want to ask me, the reason that I think a one-state solution is the only solution is because decades of Israeli policies...
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
...is because decades of Israeli policies and the building of these illegal settlements in the West Bank and occupied Palestinian territory that's supposed to make up a Palestinian state, in theory, has made that solution totally impossible. So that's why. I mean, it's a nice idea. I don't really think that like more ethno-states is the answer, generally. I think one state, if you're talking about Israel, where every single person, no matter what their culture is or their religion, has the same rights, I think that, to me, is the only solution that's really left on the table. You look at Palestinian territory and the way it's been like cobwebbed by these Israeli settlements over the last decades, which are illegal under international law, which multiple U.S. administrations have criticized from both parties while doing nothing to actually stop it from happening. It's made there is no such, there won't be a Palestinian state now. It's just not possible because there's been intentional policies put in place by the Israeli government that have made that impossible. And if you want to make the reference to Indigenous people in Canada, we can do that, and that's why I support abolishing Canada and giving Crown lands back to Indigenous people in Canada. I think we should do that. The IDF removed the settlers out of the Sinai when they made a peace deal with Egypt. I would love one state, but quickest way to peace is two state with the long-term goal of achieving a one state in the future. I just don't know, because we're talking about hundreds of thousands of people now, though. Like, we're not just talking about a few settlements. Numeral Whistle, thanks so much for the 690. 69 is the sex number. Thanks, Numeral Whistle. I really appreciate that.
I am donating to this pyramid scheme or cult through PayPal so that you get 97% of it instead of 70%.
That's very, very kind of you. Thank you for that. I do appreciate the subs, and I got to make the sub number go up, but that's a great point, and I really appreciate the tip. I appreciate anything that anyone can do to support this channel. But yeah, to go back to what I was saying, Peacefire now, and I appreciate your points on this. I'm not trying to be mean or whatever, but it just seems like we're talking about now hundreds of thousands of people. And we're also like decades into this project as well, decades removed from the incident that you're referring to. And I just don't know if there's going to be a lot of appetite on the part of it. Like, can you really see, like, look what the Israeli government is doing right now? Do you really think there's going to be appetite in the Israeli government to forcibly now remove hundreds of thousands of settlers from these West Bank settlements? Like, they're promoting and encouraging the settlements precisely because they believe in one state called Israel that they can have control and have full domination of. You know? It just seems like it's a nice idea, again, but I don't think there's ever going to be... And, like, listen to what they're saying. Like, look what what the Israeli government is saying about these settlements and about the rights that they have to this land and the claims that they have. They're not going to remove these settlers from the West Bank. They're never. It's just not going to happen. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of people on all these different settlements that have been erected for this exact reason. Like, the whole purpose of these settlements is to make a two-state solution completely impossible because they don't believe in a two-state solution, and they never have. So that's why I think it's just the only option left on the table is one state. And I don't think Israel, frankly, I don't think Israel, with the rampant criminality with which it's acted over the last couple of decades, and especially over the last 2 months, has the right to exist. I really don't. I don't think any state, including Canada or the United States, has a right to exist. But I think whatever right Israel may have once had has been completely abdicated through their own actions over the last several decades, and especially over the last 2 months. My problem is that extremism won't disappear or give up their power. If magically one state is granted, there will be no rights for Palestinians in a one-state solution with the current people in power. Well, I don't think in that situation there would, because if there was one state where everyone had the same democratic rights, the makeup of the government would be very different. That's the whole thing about a one-state solution, is that they would all have the Palestinians and would have the same democratic rights. And no one thinks that it would be easy either. No one thinks that it would be some easy transition where everyone would you'd snap their fingers and one state would be created and all the conflict would stop and everyone would just agree all of a sudden to live together. It wouldn't. Like, that's not what would happen. But I still think it's the only option later on that's remaining on the table. And whatever path there is to get there is certainly going to be a better path for literally everyone, not just Palestinians, but Israelis and as well, if they work towards that outcome. But who will grant those rights? Those in power will make sure it doesn't happen. I mean, yeah, and I support. I know everyone in this community supports peace, and we all want to find the best the way of getting to that point. But I mean, to me, that's an indication that the ruling class of Israel, just like the ruling class of like Rhodesia or any of these failed settler colonies, is going to have to be swept away. You know, like, that doesn't mean that's going to be easy. You know, but I think that's my point about a two-state solution, though, is that whatever possibility there once was for that being a permanent solution here has been kind of swept away by the actions of the Israeli government. A two-state solution, if it were even possible, would also result in terrorist attacks. Any relocated settlers out of the West Bank would absolutely be doing terrorist attacks. Yeah, or if they stayed on Palestinian territory, they would absolutely be engaging in those kinds of attacks. Even human rights orgs are now saying it's a de facto single apartheid state. I mean, this is just the reality. So that's my position on it anyways. Call me cynical, but we've heard for decades about how the two-state solution was just out of reach. We're almost there, and now
you can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
This stream is great, but I think streamer could use more cat-themed headwear.
I'm trying to talk about something serious right now. Call me cynical. We've heard for decades about how the two-state solution was just out of reach. We're almost there. And there's just these last obstacles to overcome. It all rings very hollow now. Yeah, I mean, it's just, I don't know how anyone can really hold on to this idea still with what we've seen over the last 2 months. And thank you, Orb Lady, for the 27 months of Tier 1. Thank you, Orb Lady. I appreciate you. Maybe if we could just keep it on topic. We don't always need to be trying to shift everything back to Catboy Rob, okay? There's other important things we should be discussing right now. I've never really understood the reality of a two-state solution. It doesn't really seem applicable or a long-standing answer. I mean, B. Durdens, who I think is Brandon from the Powerless podcast. And thanks for joining the stream, Brandon, unless I'm mistaken. No, but I think I think to your point, it's something that was maybe a possibility decades ago. Like maybe decades ago in like 67, there was a possibility of having a legitimate Palestinian state alongside Israel. But like it hasn't been applicable, I think, for a really, really long time. And even the idea that it was still being promoted in like the 2000s or the 2010s was kind of sus in and of itself. And now, especially over the last 2 months, now it should just be, I think, dead and buried, the whole concept of it. Matt Lieb just released the secret magical phrase that will free Palestine.
I'm bad. Okay,
let's see this. I couldn't remember if I'd seen this already.
Look, I am all for equal rights and for ending apartheid and for ending a military occupation. But the thing is, we're never...
What do you make of Christian Zionists? Well, I mean, Christian Zionists are they're anti-Semites. They're fascists who want Jewish people to leave their community in the West to go to Israel, where they can initiate their apocalyptic end times fantasy, and then all non-Christians and non-believers can be sent to hell. Like that's what they believe, and that's most Zionists. I think there's more Christian Zionists. I was reading the other day. There's more Christian Zionists than there are Jewish people.
We simply use the computer to mark up the size of the account.
A real commentator could stay on topic while wearing cat ears.
Thank you, Perilous, for the 200 bits. I did do the whole Insurgents podcast last night wearing the cat ears. Okay? I did. Look, we can watch this next video like this. Is this what's going to make you happy? There. There, are you happy now? Or does it make you happy? Do you feel good now? Is this worth 12 measly subs when I humiliate myself like this for your amusement, for your enjoyment? Oh, look at me. I'm dressing myself up like a weirdo. So some strangers on the internet will laugh, but that's not worth a measly 12 subs. That's not worth a measly 12 subs. Wow. Let's hear this clip.
Look, I am all for equal rights and for ending apartheid and for ending a military occupation. But the thing is, we're never going to have that until the Palestinians learn the magic
computer to mark
word.
up the size of the account.
Worth.
Thank you, Perilous, for the 200 bits.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
And thank you, Moist Owlets, as well, for the gifted sub. Very kind of you.
Words. What are the magic words? It's not Palestine will be free. No, you don't say that. You say, I'm sorry, I'm bad. I'm sorry, I'm bad. I'm bad, I'm bad. I'm sorry, I'm bad. I'm the worst. You're the best. You are good. I am bad. I'm a dog. You're a person. Feed me food. Yes, you will. Thank you, sir. You are great. Kiss your feet. Kiss the ground. You are God. I am trash. You are cool. I am bad. Good, good, bad, bad. I am sorry. I am bad. So it's a simple formula. You just say the right thing. It's not hard.
We just have to stop doing the bad phrases. This guy gets it. This guy gets it. We just have to stop doing the bad phrases. And then people are going to be open to stopping the occupation of Palestine. We just got to cut out those phrases and stop saying the bad words and the bad phrases. This is how we get peace. Finally, someone says it. Knock it off. No, if you have a pro-Palestine protest and you stop saying free Palestine, you stop saying from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. You stop saying anything that that some of these folks find hurtful or like upsetting. You just stop doing it. You stop saying it, and they're going to say, "Oh, okay, well now I think it's legitimate." You obviously have to condemn Hamas as well. That's what the protesters should be saying. Hamas bad, Hamas bad, Hamas bad. And then when we do this, then the Zionists will say like, okay, well now we have to listen. Now these protests are legitimate. They listened, they learned, they were called in. We feel heard, we feel seen. And now we think that the protests are legitimate. Listen, has anyone why don't we try a non-violent protest? Has anyone thought of that? It's all just violence and terrorism support with some of you people. Why not try something like a non-violent like boycotting campaign where you boycott products that are made in the occupied Palestinian territories? No violence, no terrorism, just a purely non-violent movement to boycott, divest, and sanction Israel, to pressure them to stop committing horrific crimes constantly. Oh, I bet you feel pretty silly now, don't you? It's all just Hamas, Hamas, Hamas with some of you people.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
It's all just Hamas, Hamas, Hamas with some of you folks. Plunger Man, thanks very much for another gifted sub. Really, really appreciate that, Plunger Man. Thank you. And on the sub leaderboard right now, we've got Fonzonzons with 16 leading the way. We got Kijiji Genie with 12, and we got Diego, aka Comrade Social Distancing, at 11. And we got 10 subs to go. That's 1 extremely generous chatter. That's 2 very generous chatters. Or it's 10 generous, wonderful chatters to get there. And like, look at me right now. Don't you trust this? Don't you trust this kind of political analysis? Isn't this political analysis that you should support? Why did you say Christian Zionists hate Jews? Nada of Canada. I think I actually explained it pretty clearly. Were you not paying attention? I was like, I gave a very specific explanation. Because it's not true. Okay, well, source for that claim? Can we take a moment to bask in how demented that congressional hearing about the Ivy League managers were anti-Semitic for not coming down like a ton of bricks on anyone being against a horrible genocide campaign that's killed 16,000 people already is going to look in the very near future. Yeah, I mean, it seems like a lot of people, James, just don't really seem to care exactly how it's going to look 16 years in the future. I saw Tom Cotton as well. Now federal judges are being questioned by like Tom Cotton. Would you say Israel is like our colonial settlers, which they factually are? You know, it's not some kind of like woke opinion. That's the amazing thing. For people like Tom Cotton or these conservative guys, now not supporting Israel is like a woke thing. And that's the only possible explanation. Well, to me, it's woke to support Israel. Tom Cotton, I think you're the woke one, sir. You say you hate the government. You say you're against what the United States government does. And then when it fully supports Israel, Tom Cotton, the iconoclast, conservative, libertarian, says, yes, sir, daddy. Thank you, daddy. At least my agenda is coming up. My agenda of being against genocide. That's right. I'm sorry if that's upsetting to you. Nada of Canada. Christian Zionists want to be included with the Jews in end times. I disagree. So it appears we're at an impasse. The LGBT U.S. military is supporting sissy IDF soldiers. If you're against woke gender, oppose the Israeli government. I mean, we gotta get these people on board somehow. I don't know. Well, I mean, that seems to be what we've come to the conclusion on, Sam. Yeah, isn't the idea of Christian Zionism supposed to be that only a small number of Jews will be allowed into heaven and the rest will go to hell? That seems to be the consensus. But apparently we got a big expert in the chat who thinks we're wrong about that, and that's just our agenda. That's just our agenda coming through. Let's watch the rest of this breakthrough news video. It's just another few minutes. Let's just like watch this so it's done, and then we'll move on.
In the United States, at least. So I think that this is, this is a frustration that Netanyahu has definitely expressed, and we take that quote as a victory.
What do you think about that?
If he's feeling the heat, that means Biden is feeling the heat, and we know he is. That these mass mobilizations are having a very significant effect on what these heads of state feel that they can and cannot do. So for Netanyahu to not only admit that these are working and call for stronger forces to try to stop them, one puts us on alert. We need to be very careful. We need to maintain maintain and build the momentum which everyone is committed to doing. But two, should give a sense of accomplishment to everybody who has contributed to this growing movement for Palestine. It is certainly not insignificant that Netanyahu has said this. It's definitely not insignificant that Biden is very vocally trying to walk back his deep friendship with Netanyahu. He's, trying to disassociate himself from him. This is really a result of pressure from below.
Mm-hmm. Leanne Foulahan, organizer with the Shut It Down for Palestine Coalition. Thank you so much for giving us some of your time here in the Freedom Side.
Thank you.
I guess I probably could have just watched the rest of that video rather than taking a whole 30-minute diversion during which I wore cat ears, which did not have the impact that I was hoping to. Oh boy. A little fatigued. What else is new? My cat ears didn't work. Included with Jews in the end times is a really funny way of saying We want to hasten war in the region and let the streets run red with Palestinian blood so that the end times can begin, after which everyone dies and all the Jews go to hell and I get to heaven. There's a little Christmas display like outside my apartment, and there's just blasting Christmas music. I can hear it from where I'm sitting. They talk about Judeo-Christian values and how they're big buddies. I love all this idea of Judeo-Christian values. Our nation was founded on these Judeo-Christian values, which is just such an absolute farcical lie, easily disprovable. The idea of Judeo-Christian values, which is a completely modern invention. Our society, which for many, many decades was totally hostile to all Jewish traditions and values, and in fact still is. Especially if you understand Zionism as being contrary to Jewish traditions and values rather than an extension of it. Our society still is deeply, deeply hostile to Jewish traditions and values, unless you count Zionism as being one of those values, in which case it's in full support of it. Judeo-Christian values. It's basically just a way to signal sort of an Islamophobia to people that we're united to be against Arabs and Muslims. Yeah, Judeo-Christians are just saying Abrahamic, but excluding the Muslims. Exactly. Okay, I hope this isn't mean. Kate is fire. I gotta. Kate Iris fire. I gotta say one thing, and I hope this isn't mean. I really appreciate having you in the community and the fact that you're a chatter and stuff, and you're engaging with the content and you're watching the show. I often have very little understanding of what you're talking about in your chats. I just have to cop to this. I don't know if other people in the community can attest to this. I'm often very, very confused by what you're saying in there. But I'm not trying to be mean, and I am happy to have you in the community. I'm happy to have you in the chat. Sometimes I'm a little confused or perplexed by what my takeaway is supposed to be. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry, Kate. I'm not trying to be a bully or to try to be mean. It's like jazz. It is, yeah. I'm off in silly space responding to chats sometimes. Well, as you know, I'm often in silly space as well, so I understand. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be an asshole. Look. Here, look. Remember this? Need some of that cheap Canadian weed to help me understand. That's right. I agree. They're definitely going to work this time. I think so too. I think this is the time. I think this is the time that this is going to work. I just wanted to post that breakthrough news clip one last time in the chat to make sure you're giving that a like and supporting breakthrough news. Cat ears whenever Rib does a bad thing, so just keep them on for a while. Exactly. It just automatically makes you less culpable for the things that you say and do. Is this you trying to get the Mountain Dew sponsorship? Is this your first experience with this, Marty? This is a whole new thing that's going on in both the community and my life, actually, right now. It's new. The cat ears were given to me as a gift, and I'm wearing them against my will. Okay, and I don't like it, and I don't enjoy it. Okay? And why don't I stop? I mean, I don't know. That's a good question. And I'm going to think about that. Are you trying to tell me that cat ears don't equal success? Well, here's the question, chat. We got 10 more subs to go. We got 10 more subs to go. This is going to be the ultimate test to the cat ears. Cinnamon Challenge doesn't enjoy it either. Folks, if you enjoy this program, if you enjoy the commentary that I do here on Twitch each and every day, if you like being part of the community, please, if you can, subscribe to TRRS. Every little bit helps. It helps me keep this show on the air. It helps support the community. And I appreciate it a lot. And we become friends. And thank you, Anon. Thank you, Anon, for the gifted sub. That's very kind of you. It's true. I've enjoyed 31 months of friendship for only the low, low price of $4.99 per month.
You've just become an elite member of the Friendship Triangle.
Comrade Bushy, thanks so much for the 5 gifted subs. That's very, very kind of you. Always coming through to bail me out. Comrade Bushy, thank you so much for 5 gifted subs. Very, very cool. Is there a communist school that teaches you Zionist is white people hating Jews? Okay, well, I have something that I want to respond to that with. And here's the thing, okay? That was a really useful discussion, I think, that whole back and forth there. Very useful discussion. Don't tell them about the school. Exactly. You don't get to know about the school. That's when you get to the elite tier of the Friendship Triangle community. Is when you learn the location of the communist school where we teach these things. You could say that Rob didn't want nada to do with that silly talk. Thank you. How did he find out about the school? Exactly. He knew too much. He's asking too many questions. You can't let them know about our commie secrets. That's right. This is very dangerous. Okay, take care, Marty. I'm going to make up a thing to get mad at. Think you can defend it? Commie? That was very strange. It's called Harvard. That's right. That's the communist school where they teach these kinds of things. Nada is a girl name, but I also think it was just like, it also just means like nothing. I don't know. Zero. Nada. Not even a little. It's 15.5 degrees Celsius here right now. That's so warm. It's actually warm here right now too. It's 7 degrees Celsius right here.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
The school uniform includes cat ears too, right?
Yes. That's right. That's correct. Thank you, Spaceman Door 10, for 4 months of Prime. Very much appreciated. Thank you for the Prime bucks. And yes, it does. The secret commie school where we teach these things. Yeah, no, it's really warm today. I was like walking around earlier in long johns because I was cold this morning when I woke up, and I was just like sweating my ass off over here. So anarcho-communist or Marxist-Leninist? I'm actually a Stalino-Bidenist. Do the cat ears light up? No, they don't light up, unfortunately. I guess that's going to have to be the next level. They found the location of the school from the hidden map on the TRRS merch, which can be found over at TeePublic. That's right. It's like the Prison Break. Remember that guy? He had like the big tattoo. It's like that. One of our T-shirts on TeePublic. You can find the map if you look closely enough. It's like a magic eye painting, and the map of the secret subversive commie school will be revealed to you. Lucy doesn't want me to go in the woods and forage for more Christmas decorations. Like, what do you want? Do you want to forage for? Like pine branches and stuff? I don't know. What are you foraging for? Holly and mistletoe. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Have a holly jolly Christmas. You know what the fucking worst part about having like an ADHD brain where like music is constantly playing in my head and like I just always have songs stuck in my head is around this time of year, I'm always singing the goddamn Christmas songs because you hear them everywhere. You go into the grocery store, you hear the Christmas music, and then you're walking around later. Have a holly jolly Christmas. It's the best time of the year. And it's just playing. You're trying to sleep at night, and you have the pillow over your ears. Like, go, stop. It just won't stop. When's the Hurstwood Christmas album coming out? I actually did, Brandon. I was thinking about a song that I could cover. I probably don't have the time or the ability to actually do it, but the song from National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, like the theme song to that movie, it's a banger, and I don't think we hear it enough. I don't think we hear it enough in the canon of like modern Christmas music. It's so good. I would like to do that though. Is it by Staple Sisters? I'm not sure who does it. It's so great though. Try working at Starbucks during holidays. That must be absolutely miserable. If you need a guttural scream in there, just let me know. Okay, sounds good. Mistletoe is easy to find if you see the trees have a little green in them, but all the leaves are gone. That's mistletoe. Parasitic plant, and the name means poop stick because birds eat the berries and spread it. Fascinating. I still don't know if you should be going into the woods to find it, though. I'm gonna climb a tree. Be careful. It's dangerous. You're George with Master of the House stuck in his head, for sure. It's always just the last thing I heard. But sometimes I wake up. And there's just a song in my head that I haven't heard for years. Do you know, this is, I don't know, don't ask me to explain this. I sometimes wake up in the morning and playing in my head is the song "Go for a Soda" by Kim Mitchell, which I haven't heard. I did hear it in my car the other day, like after I had talked about this with someone, but I hadn't heard that song for years. Like, I don't know why it's there. I have no idea. Like, I literally wake up and might as well go for a soda. Nobody hurts and nobody cries. Why is that playing in my head? Why? I mean, it's an okay song. It's all right. I don't love it. If you're talking about Kim Mitchell music, I prefer Patio Lanterns. Patio Lanterns is a way better song. Why do I wake up thinking about Kim Mitchell "Go for a Soda"? Explain that to me, somebody. Someone explain that to me. Maxed? It's bizarre. My brain is just bizarre, honestly. I don't know what's going on up here a lot of the time, frankly. Look at me right now. Look at me right now. Look how I'm dressed. Like, this is ridiculous. It's because Coca-Cola puts stuff in their soda. Because they put an addictive chemical in their soda to make you crave it fortnightly, smarters. From So I Married an Axe Murderer, but it's about Kentucky Fried Chicken. Oh, how I hated the Colonel. With his wee, beady eyes. He's got that smug look on his face. Oh, you're gonna buy my chicken. No. When I was little, I used to sell mistletoe to buy my mom a Christmas present. That's very sweet, Orb Lady. That's very sweet. Did you get her anything good? Because your brain is Canada coded, likes to somewhat work against you, but not completely. It's just, I couldn't think of a more random song. Like, that happens to me often. I'm not talking about like a single isolated incident. I'm not talking about a single isolated incident. I often wake up in the morning and the first thought that enters my brain, I'm like, might as well go for a soda. Nobody hurts and nobody cries. It's like, pfft. Well, I know it's pop, Kate, but I listen to a lot of pop music myself. Like, there's a lot of pop songs that I love that don't just like enter my brain for no reason. Like, why can't I wake up with Betty Davis Eyes playing in my head? I love that song. That's one of my favorite songs. Someone's playing random songs to you in your sleep. It's like, it's Orb Ladies coming over when I'm trying to sleep, just blasting Kim Mitchell. Delicately putting on headphones to play the Kim Mitchell. Because your subconscious knows that it goes hard. I guess, but there's a lot of songs that go hard, though. Like, why that one? Why has my brain selected that one? That's what I don't understand. I wake up with show tunes stuck in my head. It just makes me want to just redact myself. It depends on the show. For a while, I was really on that Little Shop of Horrors tip. Sorry, I took a moment to remember the name. For a while, I got heavily into that soundtrack, and then I was waking up with Suddenly Seymour stuck in my head and that kind of stuff. And those songs are very good. I don't ask why. I just appreciate the ways the melody got me. There are some nice harmonies in that song. I mean, I'm not saying that it doesn't have good hooks. That Kim Mitchell's got hooks. Okay, I find it perplexing that that's the song sometimes, and my brain has just decided to start playing in my head. I don't know if you make music and or wonder as deeply about it as I make it too. Yeah, I do make music, Kate. I make all the music that we play on this stream. I released a whole album this year, almost. 9 tracks. I mean, I guess that counts as almost an album. I really got to get one more. I got to have the even 10. I was actually driving around listening to it the other day, and I was like, you know what, this is pretty good. This shit is pretty good. Suddenly Seymour is amazing. And the actress in the movie who was originally on the play and is fuck, what's her name? Ellen Green as Audrey. Ellen Green absolutely just destroys in Suddenly Seymour. It's like incredible. She destroys almost as much as Petro at the burlesque show I went to the other day. Listening to your own album in the car. There's nothing wrong, Dakadoon, with a 40-year-old man listening to the synth pop album that they made in their car, okay? It's one of my favorite activities. I like doing that. When you're in your car, the doors closed, no one can judge you for listening to your own synth pop album. There's nothing wrong with it, okay? Oh. Hello, Vexing Thoughts. What's up? In the space, no one can hear you scream synth pop. Exactly. Sorry, silly girl. We're not in music school anymore. This is just Twitch. I'm so sorry to be so weird. Okay, you're not weird. Okay, you're fine. In fact, I'm weird for being mean. Okay, I'm the weird one. All right, you're good. One song I made over 2 decades ago sometimes randomly gets stuck in my head. I have that issue as well with like some of my old band's music. I can still remember like all the guitar parts a lot of the time for some of our old songs. Oh yeah, and you know what? You know what happened? I mentioned this the other day. I forgot to mention this. I forgot to mention this earlier when I talked about the burlesque show. But when I went there, not only did I see the glory of Petro, who just again absolutely destroyed, but I was recognized. The sound tech at the burlesque show came up to me after the show and was like, "Are you Rob Rousseau from Twitter and Twitch and stuff?" And I was like, "Yes, I am." And he was like, "Oh, cool," and he threw a drink in my face. No, he didn't do that. He was very nice. I was like, "Yeah, sometimes I leave my streaming cave. And I go out into the world to do stuff. Sometimes, not often, but more often lately." It's so weird. That's happened to me multiple times over the last few weeks. Now that I've been going out more. Who in here was the sound guy? I don't think it was a community member. I think it was like someone that knew mostly from Twitter. Mr. Big Time, that's right. One thing that I would like to do is figure out how to do the whole thing where your audio gets routed to a different channel when you do music and stuff. So it doesn't exist on the VODs. I would like to do some DJing. I did a little bit, not DJing, but we went to a dive bar the other night on Tuesday, and I hit the jukebox. I played a couple of really classic tracks on the jukebox. I did Glamour Profession, Steely Dan, Eye in the Sky by Alan Parsons Project, and Easy Lover. I hit it like the Fonz, that's right. Hey. I should make more electronic music like this, actually, so we can start playing different stuff so people don't get sick of the soundtrack to this song. Well, we're getting into a jumped off to take a call and the interlude song is on. Oh, you like this one, Up the Reds? Good. I'm glad you like this one. Kate likes it as well. Good. I've been talking for like 2 years about actually releasing my like electronic music so people could listen to it. I just have never done it. It's been like 2 entire years of saying like, oh sure, I'll release that. And I just have not done it. That is a classic Rob move. Pairing this with Terminator B-roll is fun for sure. You could actually do that right now. We could do this right at this very moment. I think. There was a bar in my hood that I used to frequent before COVID, and the bartender was kind of mean and hated fish, so I'd load up the jukebox queue with 15-minute fish songs. That's a good bit. I was never really a big Fish guy, but I do really enjoy their album Billy Breathes. I never got into like the live... Oh, excuse me. I never got into the live like jam stuff. This is a movie intro song for an apocalyptic but hopeful film. Oh. Can't stop yawning. I'm getting a little sleepy. Did you make the Insurgents theme music? No, I didn't, Brandon, actually. That was some of the people that I used to play in a band with. I got to do that one. Look at James Cameron absolutely cooking with this. Look at this. Jesus Christ. I was really thinking about this the other day too, just Terminator and the way that like you take the story of Terminator and how that so could have easily just been 80s schlock that was just instantly forgotten. And now when you have an absolute master storyteller and filmmaker in charge, you can turn it into magic. Something that could have just been disposable trash that no one ever thought about again becomes iconic. Talk about movie nights we need to do. I know we just scheduled like 21. We got to do Terminator 1 and 2 though. We really do. Those are two of the central Rob canon movies. The timing of that worked out really well, actually. What else are we talking about, folks? I got a few more minutes. I love how I'm just wearing the cat ears now, not even as a... There's no pretense of, like, getting people to sub. There's no, like... There's no effort to suggest that it's some kind of, like, meme or joke that I'm doing. I'm just wearing them. I'm just wearing them now. I tried to tune into one of the movie nights on my phone and couldn't figure out how to turn my mic off like a boomer. On the phone, it's definitely trickier. You gotta try and watch it on a screen because then you can like look at the chat and everything like that. It's way easier. Oh, is the new Reacher out today? That's great. I'm looking forward to that. I really enjoyed that season 1 of Reacher, so looking forward to the season 2. Nice. I also have to finish For All Mankind. I gotta get caught up on that as well. It gives an airy wantonness to your dry analysis of humorous world events. Thank you for trying to give me some kind of credibility on this. I appreciate that, Perilous. I did see that, Kira V, in the Discord. I saw that you started the For All Mankind thread. I'm going to catch up on that, and I'll be able to join that. Are you a Fargo guy at all? I've enjoyed the first few seasons of it that I saw. I haven't seen any of this new season, though. Is the new season worthwhile? I've also been watching a lot of Cheers, obviously. I can check that out. I can check out the new Fargo. Gotta fix that little gap there in the end. I love all these 80s cars, Irate Love, not just the steering wheel. We gotta make cars rectangles again. Our cars are too damn smooth. This is woke culture. Woke culture has made our cars just way too smooth now. I need some boxy rectangles. Not like the Cybertruck though, not that. No. That's not what I'm referring to. They're boxy, but good. There we go. Yes, I did see the video of Musk fanboys kicking the Cybertruck to prove how strong it is. I don't know. So, it's bizarre. I mean, like, correct me if I'm wrong, aren't cars supposed to, like, crumple as, like, a safety feature for everyone involved? Isn't it supposed to be, like, it's actually a bad thing to have a car that is not affected at all? Its body by, like, collisions? Like you saw when they did those collision tests with the car, you see the whole thing falls apart immediately. That's just woke propaganda. The one rollover test was interesting. It didn't roll over, but you still die. Well, folks, we're 3 subs away from the goal. We're 3 subs away from the sub goal. A mere measly 3 subs to go.
You can count on me. You're gonna have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Kijiji Genie, thanks so much for the gifted sub. I really appreciate all the support from Kijiji Genie. Thank you for that. And now only 2 to go. Is that kid actor still alive? Eddie Furlong? Yeah, I think so. I don't know if he's done anything recently, though. I'm so tired. Hey, weirdly low observable goat just gifted a sub to our friend Diego, which didn't seem to have triggered an alert for some reason. I don't know why. But thank you very much, low observable goat. And I think Comrade Social Distancing just resubbed today, so I don't know why a gifted sub would go to Diego. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but okay. Thank you, low observable goat. Okay, it's about time for me to log off, I think. It's getting to be sleepy time over here. Not that I can just go to sleep after I finish. I'm going to go pick up my kid and take care of him and hang out with him tonight, which will be fun, but unfortunately, I don't have time for a cat nap. I would love to have a little cat nap right now, but that's not a possibility. In theory, I could maybe be convinced to maybe do some Fortnite streaming later. We'll see. Whoops. It's all fun and games until the 4 p.m. sleepies hit. I know. It is true that the music really does match up with this very well. I really enjoy it. Did you finish Cyberpunk? No, I don't know if I'm going to finish it. Plunger Man, I don't know if I'm going to finish it. I don't know. I tried to get into it. I kind of liked it. But I'm just like, I don't think I can do it. I don't know. I just don't feel... Every time I play, I do these missions, and I just get my ass handed to me. And I don't know if I'm not grinding enough. There's something that I'm not doing. I don't have the good weapons. I don't have something. I don't have the good upgrades. I do want to play the Avatar game as well. Folks, we are merely one sub away. We're one sub away from the goal. Is there a kind and generous chatter out there that can help drag my literally tired ass across the finish line for today? Is there one hero? Is there... I need a hero. Is there a hero out there that's going to help allow this stream to live another day?
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Sikalufakis, thank you for the gifted sub. Thank you, Sikalufakis. That's very, very kind of you. Thanks for supporting me and supporting the stream and supporting the community. We did it.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
And Brandon, thanks for a gifted sub as well. It's very kind of you, Brandon. I really appreciate it. Brandon, the next time we podcast together, you got to let me know that I'm not on the good mic. You have to tell me. You're too shy to interrupt me and be like, "Hey, can you turn on the actual podcasting mic that you need to be using?" Don't be shy. Just tell me. I listened to the podcast and it was a really great discussion. But I'm like, I sound so bad. It sounds so bad. All my points that I was making are just like, sounds like I'm talking from like in an airport bathroom or something with the toilet flushing. It's a power move. Yeah, this so-called professional podcaster. Why does he sound like that? Yeah, well, you tell me. Brandon just wants to sound better than me. I think that's the problem. It was leftist audio because I couldn't hear my own audio. Did you see Vivek Ramaswamy open micing himself pissing in the Twitter chat? I did see that. Yeah. I was wondering if it was a false flag. I thought maybe it was like I thought it was maybe like a false flag pissing incident. I'm just trying to find... Brandon, can you post the link to the podcast? I can find it on YouTube, but I'm sure there's like a... I'm sure there's a better podcast page for the podcast, isn't there? I want to promote it. No, so you don't think I'm just making fun of you and mocking you. Okay, that's not what I was doing. I can only find listen notes for some reason. Anyway, please, Brandon just shared the link to his excellent podcast, the Powerless Podcast, of which I've been a guest twice now. Really good episode the other day. Really good conversation. I had a little bit of regret listening to it that I did not have the correct mic selected. Maybe as a professional streamer and podcaster, I should maybe be aware of how that stuff works. But please do listen to the Powerless Podcast because it's really good stuff, and I appreciate what Brandon is out there doing. And Brandon says nice things about my musical creative output, which has bought him a lot of credibility and goodwill, frankly. With me. Just a careerist for the big podcast bucks. Oh boy, you could eventually live in an opulent lifestyle like me. You wouldn't even know. You have no idea the kind of shit that I'm into now. It's like my whole life is like a hip-hop music video now. Anyway, we're going to rate our friend Hildy Beast. Please do, if you can. What is this, Diego? Oh, interesting. The Cybertruck Crumple Zone comparison. Interesting. We're going to rate our friend Hildy Beast now. Thanks so much, everyone, for tuning into the program today. It was a pleasure, as always, and this week as well. So, Hildy Beast, if you're not familiar with Hildy's content, really wonderful person, wonderful streamer, always has the best raid reactions. So the goal right now is to just throw off Hildy as much as possible. She's going to be very overwhelmed and flustered. She's going to be swearing and saying all kinds of crazy shit. So your goal right now as a raider is to try and contribute to that however you can. Thanks everyone for watching. I'll see you around. I'll see you on Monday. Goodbye.